All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the show. This is last week's fight. My name is Thinker St. James, and tonight we are going to be going over each and every fight from UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Brady, taking a look at the upcoming Moreno versus Erceg card on the horizon. And to do all of that with me, as always, my co-host, the Ohio player, a man who can make even the most mid-tier London card exciting, Mr. Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
You know, I am good. I actually am glad you said it that way because a Saturday of fights like that, you can't always come. Not everybody would be able to say that they still had a good time, but I can still say I had a decent amount of fun. So,
Yeah, same. I mean, the thing with these London cards that I've noticed is that they pack them full, man. These fight cards are long on these London cards, the last two at least, and it didn't seem, at least between this one and the last one. I mean, maybe there was some in the last one that I'm not remembering, but like not many fights drop out. So like you have a lot of fights, and if the excitement level is kind of up and down, then it's just a lot of fights to get through. But I think overall it was still fun enough, right? It was okay.
yeah, unfortunately, like this is just like another brick in the road type of thing. Like, oh, well, London passed. So look forward to the next one. But as of right now, yeah, I still had an all right time.
Yeah, same, exactly. So we're gonna go over each one of these fights on this UFC Fight Night Edwards versus Brady card. If you're new to the stream, that's what we're doing here. So if you've got anything that you want to talk about that's not pertaining to those fights, you can throw it in the chat. We may or may not get back to it. Keep saying that all the time. Don't generally end up
Say
doing
it a
so,
couple
but
times. We'll get to it.
exactly, yeah. Remind us, and we'll run it back. But yeah, let's jump on into this thing. This was UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Brady. This took place in the O2 Arena in London, England. I guess we've kind of already said a little bit about our initial thoughts, but what are you thinking, Chase?
Well, actually, let me stop you.
Sure.
Can someone explain, chat, why is this not a pay-per-view?
I mean, well,
Like,
the
why
card
wouldn't
wasn't pay-per-view worthy, but
I
not
mean, but
having a
like,
pay-per-view at the O2, you're saying?
yeah, like why was the London card not a pay-per-view? Like, I mean, I get these aren't like pay-per-view people, but like Patty could have been on here, Lerone Murphy could have been on here, Tom Aspinall.
Well, that's why. I mean, there you go. I think
Yeah,
you answered your
so
own question there, you
yeah,
know.
well, so
But yeah, that I guess really, if you break it down in those terms, it's probably exactly that there really aren't pay-per-view level stars in the country aside from Tom right now, right? I mean, like
I said it during the card, like, bro, Patty could be on pay-per-view now. Like he could be the headline, I
he
would say.
has been. I mean,
No,
well,
like
not as a headliner.
I do. Come on. If okay, well, he could have headlined this card, in my opinion. And I think this could have been a paper. It should have been London should have been a pay-per-view kind of thing. Like at least the stigma of being a pay-per-view makes it a little more like being a fight night. It's like nobody's gonna you can't even find these on ESPN and without going through a rabbit hole. So
Yeah, I guess what they could have done is had like a championship fight that wasn't necessarily English fighters and then had a stacked English card underneath it. That would have made sense. But that's the thing. The issue is that they want to save, like if you're going to do something like that for the country, then you want like the top level people that are going to be at championship range at that point. And Tom's the only one at the moment. Patty's knocking on it, but he's still got a little ways to go. So he might have been able to co-headline, or been the the co-main. But Yeah, I think that that's pretty much what it comes down to is that we're still in a phase right now where the English stars are hopefully starting to bubble up, like a Lerone Murphy could be one coming up in maybe a year or two. But right now, I mean, he's still got some ground to cover himself. England is such a unique case when it comes to MMA because it's a passionate, extremely fanatical fan base, but like the star power, it doesn't seem like the amount of fighters, not even just the skill level, because I do think that they have some amazingly skilled fighters there. But I think that like because it's kind of a smaller nation overall, like the amount of groundswell as far as the fan base goes does not equal up to the amount of fighters that they have in the pool. You know what I
Mhm.
mean?
Yeah, I hear you. And unfortunately, when you look at this card and what ended up happening with a lot of these fights, the talent you could see. Like, I mean, a lot of these guys like just don't bring it.
Yeah, well, if you're comparing this to the previous London card, which is infamous as like around Yama circles on the watch along, it's one of the cards that we always point to as one of the worst that we can remember in recent memory, just because of how like we were checked out about like halfway through that card, and Tom Aspinall was fighting on that card.
Mhm.
That was the one that he ended up getting injured on. So even that ended up being kind of an unfortunate turn of events, but compared to that one, this was a lot better. This was a big step up. That being said, it was another one that I describe as having good performances as opposed to a solid amount of quality fights. But
Mhm.
still enough to make it not terrible. And also for us in the United States, it was nice to be able to have the start time be a little bit earlier. So
True.
energy level was there because of that.
I hear you. Well, energy level was there. The show did not match the level that I thought I was able to have at 1 o'clock in the afternoon.
Sure. Well, and I think that that's in part too, because I don't know if it was the audio or if it was the crowd or both, but like it didn't really feel like it was like a super electric atmosphere in the O2 Arena. And I don't know. No, you
Mm,
think so? I think it was real hype. It didn't feel that way.
I think they maybe just didn't do the crowd justice by showing any shots of it. We don't know what the arena looks like. We don't know where people are cheering from outside of the front, kind of circle. Like normally we get a good view, like if it's the Sphere or something like that, and they're making it the O2 Arena. Like it's just like any other, like it could have been Greenbridge Stadium down in Indianapolis for all I know.
Right. Yeah. Well, the one time that they did show the crowd was for that terrible Sweet Caroline sing along that they always feel the need to do, and we'll certainly talk about that in a little bit. But
Oh,
let's get
that's a
into
thing.
something.
My bad. Never
Oh,
noticed.
you didn't see that? Oh, that
I
is.
mean,
Oh,
I
you saw
didn't know
it.
it was a
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's a thing. It's a thing. It's not only just a European thing, but it's a sporting events thing in general. And I'm getting sick and fucking tired of it. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's start this
Can
thing
I
off
interject
with.
what I'm sick and
Oh,
tired of? Just
oh,
because it's
please.
kinda funny. Dude, so WWE's on the international tour right now, and all the soccer chants, like the football chants,
Right.
that's just what they do at WWE, and it's just so off-putting. So anyway, yeah, I
Yeah.
feel
No.
I feel your pain.
Yeah, well, and that's like its own version of the Sweet Caroline sing along. I
Yeah,
feel like they go hand in hand with one
yeah,
another. So yeah, I'm completely understanding of that. Some of them are pretty funny. I'll give them credit for that, but like I feel like that's also like something that you have to kind of be inside to fully get all of the references and stuff. Whatever. Like enjoy your culture when it comes to all that kind of stuff, but for me personally, I can do without it.
true, and of course, shout out to Sarah Toby in the chat.
Hey, shout out to Sarah Toby. How you doing? All
Appreciate
right.
it.
Well, let's get this thing started over here. This is a fun one to start off on. This is Guram Kutateladze versus Quay Fernandez. I got a funny joke regarding this fight. This is how it goes. Apparently, before the fight, Michael Bisping was saying that Guram told him that he wanted to knock this guy out, and then he wanted the belt. Boom. Man, isn't that hilarious?
I do remember him saying that. And I actually it sucks that I didn't remember at the time that he said that because this fight was two people that, one person w wanted to get beat up. The other person wanted the style on him very early, and it actually worked out. I think what's really, really funny about this is I was so right that Guram is probably gonna be a fraud, like, 'cause, and
Oh
if he
yeah.
is, it's gonna indicate later, but what's still so funny is that I listened to my boy Tosh, we were just chatting and he was like, or Guram might just have a lay and pray performance. And I was like, oh, lay and pray. Okay, wait a minute. So I go to the books and I look at total, takedowns or whatever, 2+. I was like, lay and pray. Okay, 1 takedown per round. You can do this. You can do this.
Well, did he?
I went hard for it, and he was so, so bad. Oh my goodness. This is why I'm tired of listening to people because, like, these are the performances that I just go on a whim for, like, and like listening to people. I would have never even came close to this. I had never said in my life in the chat that I'm, taking Guru. Anyway. What's really funny about this, not only did he have the current champ, well, sorry, the former champ now, Ilya Taporia in his cage side. He also had Hamzat Shamayev in his cage side.
Brother.
Oh my goodness. And what's really, really funny is, he went out there and Ilya tried to tell him to be just like me. That's literally what it looked like. Is Ilya was like, you just got to do it like this. You just got to do it just like this, just like this. And like you could see Guram trying to. He's like doing the whole dude. It's really really funny that he tried to be Ilya and then gets 30-26. Oh, there wasn't. Wait, this wasn't the fight with the 30-20. Oh, okay,
That's
never mind.
insane that there wasn't a 30-26 on this one because
Yeah,
there should have probably been, man. I swear that I have seen. I mean, aside from the Vucenic fight, I swear I've seen Guram fight before, and I don't remember him being anywhere near this poor. Like this has to have been his worst, most inactive performance of all time. And if it wasn't, then there's no reason that he should be in this organization in the first place. I mean, this was like on the Fernandez side, this had to be the easiest fight of his life, just pointing from range. I mean, land, circle, counter on the entry. This was a cakewalk for this dude. And it's funny that you brought up Ilya because I remember seeing Ilya like on cage side, on the apron there, and he wasn't saying shit during this fight. So I'm like, I guess maybe he talked to him in the back, but he was not shouting anything. So yeah, funny to have Ilya and Hamzat in the corner and neither of them actually like doing any cornering. Maybe they did between rounds. They probably came into the cage and talked to him a little bit, gave him the pep talk, but by round 1, it was already too late. Like that's the problem here. Like this dude was getting solidly handled from the outset. And it really like it all started with the inactivity. That's the thing that stuck out the most because there are plenty of times where guys will go in there and get handled, right? I mean, this just happens in the sport. Somebody comes in, they overwhelm you, whatever. Like that's one version of how that goes. This was not that. This dude was taking pictures the entire time. And then Fernandez was just like, oh, okay, I guess this is the type of fight we're fighting. So I'm just going to do X, Y, and Z. And that's really all that he needed to do. Like the leg kicks adding up was probably, I guess, an early defining factor of it. And it almost could have gotten stopped due to leg kicks the way that Guram went down early and stayed down in the second round. Bro was cooked 40 seconds into the round, but that's whatever.
can we talk about Fernandez being an idiot on that? I forgot about that. Like,
oh yeah. I mean, well, and that's what I'm saying. This is another fight where Fernandez looks better than he actually is because of this fight. I'm calling this the Muin Gafurov syndrome because this is that always is the one that I go back to in my mind. But this is another version of that because Coy Fernandez is not great, but this was just a fine performance for him because Guram did not show up in the slightest. So yeah, anyway, I was just saying that like the leg kicks might have been an early indicator of how this was going because they did start in the first round. But like the fact that Fernandez couldn't finish this fight should show you something as well, because like this is the biggest sitting duck I have ever seen right here in Guram Kutstelatse.
This was really, really, really bad. Not only
Yeah.
did he get beat up, dude, he got dropped on his face in the first round, I'm pretty sure. They say he got 2 knockdowns. So maybe, I mean, if he got dropped again that I missed, like, dude, like just straight up embarrassed. So like you're getting like I was the first round of dudes pointing at the ground, pointing around, trying to, do his little showboaty thing. And it's working. Like he's just whooping your ass. Like, dude, he came out here and just put it on you, and you said I got Ilya and I got Hamza. Like, we'll see your boys in the back, I guess, because this dude did not show up for the fight at all.
Yeah, and I was a little miffed about how things went down on the Thursday stream that we did, the additional stream, but it's interesting now in hindsight to go back and look at all of our conversations surrounding that, and then seeing what actually happened, because we had the conversation on that stream about, like, do you factor in him training with Ilya and Alexandre and, Hamzat? I don't think he came up, but, like, people around him. And it's like, this is the most prime example of all time that the people you surround yourself with do not always equal up to how your performance is going to be in the fight. I mean, like, this dude was a fucking minus 400, and he got smoked in this fight.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. This one was really funny. This was a good hate watch. I'm not gonna lie. Even though I had a lot of money on it, like not a lot, of course, but a lot more than I definitely should have. Um, and after you accept the fact that he shot that first takedown and it wasn't even fucking close, like it wasn't even fucking close, and then the second one even worse, and then you get 5 of the worst takedowns ever, and you're like, I just needed 3, like I just needed you to wrestle like you normally do. What did Ilya teach you, bro? Like it was a good hate watch after you accept it though.
Yeah, yeah, and I guess you kind of have to, because I do think that a lot of people probably had Guram, especially because you know how it is with these cards that where you've got a couple of top level guys, but then it's sort of a mixed bag going down the card. So it's like you see the numbers on the books, and it's like, oh, minus 400, that's probably a pretty decent lock right there. So I think that a lot of people probably had parlays busted early, just having him as, one of the legs that they thought, oh, this is probably an easy lock. I know that happened to me. He was on the safe parlay.
Yeah, true. I hear
So
you. This was an early indication.
yeah, for sure. And I thought it was rather hilarious that, I don't know if you caught this, but they blew the final horn twice. Uh,
Get it the fuck over
exactly.
with. Like,
They wanted this fight over so badly. But look, to Kue Fernandez's credit, I guess you could say, he at least recognized how in control he was, so he was able to keep it at range like he wanted it to be. Because that's another part of this that I think is really telling, is that, like, Guram, I guess, based on the leg kicks, based on whatever you want to say it was, but, like, he fought Fernandez's fight, like, from the get-go. This was exactly how Fernandez wanted this fight to go. So I think that on Kue's side, at least he recognized that and was able to navigate a fairly textbook fight based on getting exactly what you want.
yeah, you know what's crazy is like this is still just another guy that will just we're gonna know of Guram's horrible performance more than we're gonna know of Fernandez's like good performance against him. Like I'm going back to not caring about him. This wasn't like the most inspiring for him because Guram looked like total fucking dog water.
Yeah, no, and that's absolutely the takeaway from all of this is, bet at your own risk if you think that Fernandez is something that could be more, maybe. But I mean, Guram Kutateladze is now money line poison. I mean, like, there's no world where this dude is going to be having any kind of support after a performance like that. And then, as you kind of alluded to there, I was going to save it for the Vucenic fight, but, you called it very well as far as the MMA math went, because, Guram looking so poor in this fight kind of gave you a little bit more of an indication as to what you potentially could have seen out of Jordan Vucenic in his fight against Chris Duncan. And then that turned out the way that did as well. So, keep these things in mind as far as how you're analyzing each individual fighter in their current fight based on the other fights that they've had in their history, because sometimes they play a bigger factor than you would think.
True that. Even if it literally mattered none. Like they had no correlation to like in the fights, like anything that mattered. Like Guram just sucked and Jordan, maybe did the exact same thing and just whatever. But it was different situations, uncorrelated, but it did tell somewhat of an underlying story kind of deal.
Yeah, and if you had gone with the betting method that we had outlined on that Thursday show, where I said, look how Guram looks in his fight, and then judge your bet based on that, then it would have worked out pretty good for you, because you would have thrown that money on Duncan, and that would have came through. But
hell yeah.
I digress. Yeah, no. Anything else on this this hilarious opening fight?
No, I'm ready for the next one.
All
I'm
right, let's
excited.
move on here. Yeah, definitely a more entertaining fight, more spirited engagement here. This is Nathan Fletcher versus Kalen Loughran. I have like a whole breakdown on this round by round deal, but what did you think about the fight overall?
The fight overall was very good.
Yeah.
It was a rematch, They fought in the amateurs, and this was round 2 going around, and Nathan Fletcher won the first time. So going into it, I thought it was going to be a little easy for him. He knew what to do. He's done it once, do it again. Kalen was very aggressive with the wrestling. I was figuring he was going to regret it in the gas tank, later on in the fight. Little surprised in round 3 he was a little more there, especially after a round 2 fucking beat down from Nathan Fletcher. I You're making a face. That are you I don't know if you're agreeing with me or not, but that was like, if any round was a 10-8, like that probably was it out of the whole card. He was beating the shit out of him. I'll talk about another round, 10-8 later, but this round 2, he got him in the most dominant position in the sport. He got on his back, whether it was like standing or not. Like they stood there for the entire fucking round damn near. And Nathan Fletcher dropped vicious fucking bombs. Like it was a thing of beauty. I'm not gonna lie. Like it was a good ass fucking round from Nathan Fletcher. And then even round 3, very very active on both ends. Kalen was able to secure takedowns just like he was in the first round, but just like the first round, wasn't doing anything with it. He was just holding him down. Nathan Fletcher was active in his guard, which we see later, proves to be a winning method for somebody else, being very active in your guard, putting on a striking performance from bottom position and actually being the person that's, doing something to earn points rather than just fucking laying and praying. Kalen is good on the feet. I don't know why in the latest matchups he's just been getting smoked on the feet. Like he's supposed to be the Don. Why are you like what's going on here? You're supposed to be hands guy, not wrestle brother. Like I don't know.
Well, I mean, I think that his wrestling was kind of an early part of his success, at least in the organization. If you go back to the Pacheco fight, right? I mean, he pretty much smothered him there. I mean, he did land some good hands within those sequences, but I think it's just a big part. He even said it himself. He was like, the coach said, "Marab this guy," and it was like, okay. I mean, that is kind of where he went with that. But I'm
Hey,
glad.
Dakota said rob this guy.
Yeah.
Is that a
That was pretty funny. Nice impression, by the way. I appreciated that. Um, but yeah, so okay. I'm gonna break this thing down based on what you're saying here because I agree with some of it. I have a slightly different interpretation of other parts. So round 1, squarely Kalen's round. Nice boxing there. Good control, even though he got reversed towards the end of the round. Good low kicks for Fletcher in that round, but still Loughran's round. Fletcher did come out looking very impressive in that second round. The extended backpack sequence was nice. I mean, you're saying that he whipped his ass, that it was a 10-8 round. I don't know if I'd go that far, but it was definitely impressive, and it was super high level stuff. I really liked how he switched the body lock like mid position, like maintaining the position on the back and switch the legs up. Like that's very high level for a dude who's just starting out in the organization. So easy round for Fletcher, 1-1 going into the third, right? Loughran gets the takedown. See, this is where I think I'm taking issue here. When people say, because I knew that was going to come up in some capacity, he didn't do anything with it. Well, I'll tell you what he did. Loughran gets the takedown, corralled the legs. That didn't work. Went to get the backpack. That didn't work. Went into the clinch. He's actively moving positions along. It's not like he was clinching him on the cage and not doing anything. So continuing on, nothing was there from the clinch. Got into another takedown. Fletcher did land the spinning elbow that cut Loughran, but he didn't start turning up offense until the last 40 seconds of the round. So you mean to tell me that for 4 minutes and 20 seconds of him actively changing positions, him actively trying to get to the next thing, even if it wasn't an overall scorching of a performance, but he was still in control and still moving the action forward, that 40 seconds of output with a cut. The cut was impressive. It did look nice, but 40 seconds trumps all that other work. I think the 29-28 Loughran was the right call here.
If you agree that I actually have seen a lot of people disregard the cut, so I'm glad that you bring that up because damage is a factor. I think that made the round. I thought that put it over the top because, like you explained, he was switching all these positions. You know why? Because he couldn't fucking get to the dominant ones. Like Nathan Fletcher's like a really good grappler. He was able to fend himself off a lot of the fight again from bottom position. Third round, okay, I can see that he was a little slow to start. And then Kalen was able to actually grapple and lay on top of him. But there was nothing that Kalen was doing that's like earning points unless like, okay, control time. Sure. But like it's a close round. Like, you're doing nothing with it. You're not, giving the convincing argument. Then we get up to the feet, and then you get busted in the eye. I mean, I don't know. I thought the first round was close. Also, I mean, it's crazy.
Well, so this is my counter to this that I've been ruminating on this concept for a while now. I've been ruminating on this probably since uh, Jose Aldo versus Mario Bautista. And my thing is, and I can completely, I already hear the other side and I understand it as well. But what I'm thinking about this is that if you are initiating actively, when you're getting into clinch situations, when you're trying for takedowns, when when you're controlling, if you're doing all of that and your opponent is not able to swing the offense in their direction, that is what pushes it over for me, because I understand the argument that, oh, you're not doing anything with it and the defense should be counted as well. Because I know that you've said that in the past, like, oh, we need to start counting defense and stuff. And that's fine if the defense turns into offense for you. But if it's only defensive and it never ends up equaling out to you starting your own offense. Now, in this one, it's a little bit different because of the last 40 seconds we just talked about. But like, if we're talking completely one-sided as far as being controlled and nothing else happening besides that, I kind of see it from the control making the different standpoint, because that at least is initiating, that at least is trying to swing offense in your direction. Just defending and not turning up your own offense can't trump that, in my opinion.
I mean, listen, Nathan Fletcher is a good grappler, and he accepted the position on his back a lot. But I don't think it was a bad idea. I mean, we've seen a lot of people with active guards and bust people up with elbows. We see somebody, it wasn't the ground strikes, but we see a lot of ground elbows and stuff later from the back position, and they do damaging blows. A lot of people, they stand up. They don't get hit by many of them. At that top of the head, the crown area, they get a few 12 to 6s, and they sit up a little bit. So it's not a bad idea, because in that case, he's going to get, he'll be safe. And I think it worked out for him. I think it was a good move to stay on your back and elbow the shit out of him for the first round. I, in my eyes, he was doing damage. That looked like it fucking hurt. That's all I'm
All right.
saying.
Hey, I mean, and so, this is why these things are subjective. This is definitely why this was a split decision. I mean, the different viewpoints of how all these things add up is, how you end up getting to it. I guess that's also the overarching point of everything too, is like, make it definitive. That's there's an easy way to avoid this conversation. Go out there and
Right.
finish the fight. Then we all shut up real quick. So, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think that this was the right call in the end. I can understand the other way, to an extent, but it is what it is. Split decision win for Kalen Loughran, and Fletcher didn't look bad though. This was a good fight, so hopefully he comes back. Now he's 1-1 technically in the organization, so comes back, gets another fight, and does his thing.
You know what I love about this sport is, like, you could any sport, you can always make a case for the quota, man. Like, they had to set up a trilogy between these guys at some point. They're both young prospects. Of course, they can't give it to Nathan, because then why would they meet up later? And these are two, maybe guys that are going to make it far. And Kalen, if he goes 0-2 or 0-3, whatever it is in the UFC. No, it wasn't 0-3. He beat Angel in the UFC. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
whatever his record be, if he's on his way kind of out, now he's not. Now he's got a win on his belt. It doesn't hurt Nathan too much. He's a young prospect guy who people thought won. He's still on the side of the fans. Whatever.
Yeah.
Quotas.
So there you go. I mean, this is the trilogy that everybody's looking for now. The trilogy that everybody wants.
Oh yeah, when this comes up, in 2020 fucking 7, and it's a co-main event of the Apex, love it.
Exactly. Listen back to this episode.
Yep.
All right, let's move it on down the line here. Sean O'Bannon versus Pooja Tomar. I know you got a lot to say about this fight. Go ahead.
I mean, there's not really too much craziness for me to say. I will admit that I did not expect to see Pooja implement a game plan that was going to work against the style that Shauna had. I actually forgot just how much Shauna uses that, like, sidekick stance.
Boy, does
And
she ever.
to give her credit, I mean, it is unique, and to go a long way in the sport, you do have to have something unique about your style. It's got to be something that nobody's ever seen, kind of deal. It does work to a certain extent, but it's an easy ass thing to fucking counter. And I'm not gonna say the kick was the easy part. Pooja was just there was times where she was getting caught up, and there was a lot of times where she was getting caught up on the side kick. And it is coming at different angles. It's hard to gauge. But the moments that she decided to engage and just bomb her with hooks, hook merchant, I've never seen one better than Pooja Tamir. She went in there and started bombing her. There was actually positions where Shauna tried to fucking stand and bang too, and she was getting caught, like she was getting hit like in the stale face position. Like it was really funny because then she readjusts and then started doing her side kick again. I've actually forgot that this went to round 2 when I rewatched it. So the first round was a lot of not much. Second round. Let me say, yeah.
Yeah, please.
Second round. Same thing's happening. I'm not thinking Pooja's gonna catch on. I mean, more than she already has, but the power's definitely not gonna be there anymore because time's ticking for that clock kind of deal. No, boy, did I ever think Pooja Tomir would land a head kick. One, because Shauna had been dodging it all fucking fight. She had been getting back. Two, Pooja is so short and her limbs are so tiny. The fact that she was able to set up a head kick that Shauna just completely, it was a mental lapse there, right? Shauna hits the mat. In my mind, it was over. Like, come on, like especially with women, you don't want to see them get beat on the ground. Like, come on, like come on, have some mercy. Um, Guram also ref this fight, I believe. Well, I wanted to mention that earlier. Sorry, I just thought about that. Guram looked like one of the refs.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but Pooja Tomir put her on the mat. Shauna Bannon looked a little out. Upon rewatch, she was good enough. It was a little sketchy, but then she was able to pull off this amazing sub. And Pooja, like they both made mental lapses here. Shauna with the kick and Pooja just not fucking getting away from her. Just leave it be. Why are you engaging? You are not the ground and pound king. Like you are
Oh,
just. So anyway, it was a crazy one. No, did I expect this from either of them? Not really. I thought this was going to be a point fight, which it was. I was actually on the right fucking track for a minute, but that second round was pretty fucking bonkers. And to say this was maybe the most exciting fight, you know,
uh,
this
not
was dude.
over one ear
Not
and
not not over that, but
yeah.
this was pretty fucking good. This was
Oh
pretty good.
yeah. No, I enjoyed it. I thought that this fight started pretty well as anticipated. I mean, I knew that Pooja was feisty and eager to
I
engage,
give you that. I give you
you
that.
know?
She showed it. I thought it was
Yeah.
a facade. It's not. I give it to
No,
you.
yeah, and I was happy for that aspect of it, that it wasn't just for that introductory fight. Like, she does have that kind of fiery style to her. Bannon, of course, a little bit more measured, but aware and active. So, I thought that both started off from equal ground as far as what my thought process was, at least. Uh, Pooja dealing with the hop kicks was a fight IQ issue, 100%. As you said, there are so many ways that she could have dealt with it and just didn't. I wouldn't say that they were crazy effective for Bannon, but they were points, and that does add up. And that is, as you also said, this was kind of what we thought this fight was going to be. It was going to be, pointing on the outside for Bannon, a little bit more measured, Pooja trying to get inside, make it a little bit dirtier. It was unfortunate that Pooja dealt with those hop kicks by her own kicks going straight to the cooch. That was not good, but it is what it is a little bit there. Bannon was, yeah, exactly. Yeah, she really was getting pretty upset after a while.
Ralph!
I mean, Pooja definitely should have been more aware of that, but at the same time, it's like I think that it really that's not how Pooja should have been handling it to begin with. So it was doubly bad. Like, yeah, it was bad that that's where the kicks were going.
It was
Uh,
a stance issue. They were throwing kicks at the same time. Like, I
that's yeah,
mean,
definitely that as well. But I mean, still, you got to be aware of where it's going to land if that's the case. She was in motion. I guess I could see a little bit more of a case for it being,
she's trying to kick her in the body. I mean,
right. Yeah,
she's literally just she's scooting at you cooch first. I mean, you can't really blame Pooja.
True. And I mean, and her striking was decent when she wasn't dealing with those kicks. Actually, after the one time that it got stopped, where the referee like gave her the hard warning or whatever, she was like, "All right, I'm just gonna bum rush a little bit here, start throwing some haymakers," and it actually worked out pretty decently for her. So, you know,
She let off the gas every time. Like, she would let Shauna just, like, reset. It's like, "Okay, we got into our scuffle, now let's get back to" it's like Pooja, like, she was I'm not gonna lie, she was bombing her. Even the head before the head kick, she was bombing her on the feet and just let her circle out. Like, she had her up against the ca like, they were both side by side to the cage, and, she's rocking her a little bit, and then she just lets her just, like, off the hook. She doesn't, like, corner her, and it's an IQ thing. Listen, you can't expect everything from everyone, but she I that moment, like the couple moments she had, like, okay, the first time it's like, okay, reset. I'm gonna get her again. Like, I'm gonna get her in that and I'm gonna finish it or I'm gonna go for it a little more. She just didn't engage that second fucking gear.
right. Well, and I mean, this again, I do agree with like, not necessarily like thinking that Pooja was going to come out here like with all of the skills that she needs to be like high level yet. She is still early in her tenure with the organization and all that kind of stuff. But this was fight IQ issue after issue, and that was one of them. What you're talking about there, with not engaging in a ramp up, not ramping up the output when she was actively in control. But then the ending sequence is another like just it was really hard to watch it in real time, like especially on the rewatch, because the head kick, of course, from Puja would have ended the fight with a different referee, like as you kind of mentioned there. I'm not mad at it continuing, but it did continue. And then Puja going to the ground, right? How many times we talked about it, how happy I was to see it from Musasa when he said, "Get up." It's like, take a note from these other fighters who are standing up their opponents in those situations. That is your cue to do the thing that you were having success with. Don't go down to the ground where you're not comfortable and don't have a great skill set. Stand them up. But she didn't do that. She goes to the ground, right? And then everything she did in that ground sequence was just a fight IQ issue. She worked hand in hand with Bannon to make that armbar happen. If you saw how she went down, she initially is in the armbar position where Bannon tries to wrap the legs. She's fighting the hands to get out of that. She goes deeper into it to try to create room for her hand to go, and then she gets the room. This is the part that kills me. She gets the room. Both hands. Shauna's on her back, legs are kind of doubled over. She's in a folded position on her back, and Pooja's arms are now between her legs. At least one of them, the arm that ends up getting barred, is between the legs, and she has the room to move. And then she just doesn't get the arm out of there. She doesn't get the arm into anywhere safe. So Bannon just says, okay, the arm is still here. I'm just going to readjust. She does that, gets the arm bar. Fight IQ issue after issue, all in real time, all very fast, obviously. But these are the things that set you apart when it comes to the higher levels of this sport. And that's an education very quickly.
I want to give credit, and I know we give credit to my boy Elite a lot. He is in the chat. We didn't say hi, but
Shout out Elite.
I vaguely, and I'm going to give him a lot of credit here. I vaguely remember we were on a call, right before the card starts, as we always are. And he said Pooja Tamir loses by, all of her losses, are by sub, or, she gets finished or whatever. And the subs were all defensive positions. So I'm pretty sure he said like maybe she like knocked him down like all the other ones, and then armbar or arm triangle, arm triangle, whatever you want to say. Not arm triangle, but a triangle choke, anything like that. And it's like I feel like he kind of was right on the fucking money. Like that was like a really good fucking moment. And I don't think he really remembers saying it because I think it was just like, these are like defensive like positions. Like they're on their back kind of deal. And I don't think, in the moment we're worried about what he said earlier because like, wow, this was fucking crazy. So this was a great fight. But I think the only person that I give credit to kind of knowing anything, it was kind of Elite. I'm just saying.
Yeah, and I mean the takeaway here I think is that Tomar like I think that she's a decent fighter actually based on this fight. Like I don't think that she's like a fluke fighter, obviously with the being the first female Indian fighter and then the first Indian female winner of a fight or whatever, the first Indian period to win a
And
fight,
the
and
first female loser.
Yeah, I guess so too, right? Yeah, and she got both credits to her name now. But like overall, I mean, I think that there's raw talent there, but there's a lot of shaping that needs to happen, and the ground game needs to catch up
Mhm.
because that type of thing, again, like just it was when you're watching it. Of course, we're watching it from the outside. Obviously, it's hindsight's 2020, all that kind of stuff. I get all of that aspect of it, but when you're in that position and the game of inches comes into play and it's a matter of split seconds and small movements and things like that, that's what's going to end up either making or breaking a career. So
Mhm.
these are the things that she needs to work on in a real way if she's going to be a legitimate threat in this division.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It sucked seeing the end of this one because I was like, wow. Like I liked Pooja when she came in, and I still do, but like this one, I just felt like wasn't in her favor, and this is not how I thought she was going to lose. But I think it's unfortunate because now she's kind of people saw her get fucking subbed. Like that's what the highlights going to show. They may not show the head kick because that's not the part that won. So
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, either way, though, nice win for Shauna Bannon. At the end of the day, got through some heavy adversity to get there. So, well deserved after all of that. And I think that I'm developing a crush on Shauna Bannon. So, internet out there,
no,
help your boy out.
no. Here's the deal.
Okay.
I I want to believe that she looked a lot. There was a lot more going on with the plastic surgery, and if you heard during the fight, she had just came back from surgery.
Oh, I did not hear that. Wait, they actually said that?
I don't know what type of surgery. I'm
Oh,
just
they just said she came back from surgery.
She came
Okay.
back from surgery.
All
So
right.
so what I'm saying is she looked a lot better today, Saturday.
Yeah.
Today, as of right now, she looks pretty good, but I remember it was getting a little duck facey and it was getting a lot of swollen look,
Yeah. No,
but
definitely.
it looked fine. So maybe this I'm not saying it was that surgery. I'm just saying it looked like something's good in the air.
It certainly looked good to me. I've been enjoying creeping on her Instagram. Anyway, that is where that one lies.
All right. Yeah.
let,
And
let,
then this one.
yeah, all right. So moving this thing along, Christian Leroy Duncan versus Andre Puliev. This was a fine win for CLD, but a frustrating performance is the way that I categorize this.
Fine, and this fucking fight should never be in the same this was one of the most frustrating performances to watch because while you have a fighter who is actively not engaging with the fight, as somebody like Christian Leroy Duncan, who is supposed to be this killer, like eventually you fucking track him down. Like eventually you land something of relevance that's like, okay, now they can't run, or like I'm locking in, like I can chase him down. Like he did nothing to cut the cage off. He did all these, and we talk about this. So, oh my God, we talk about this so much. If you are going to be one of these creative, fancy strikers, you have to finish the fucking fight because you just look like a jackass if you don't. Why are you doing a jumping head shoulder clash? Like, I mean, it worked, but did it? Did it work? Because you went to decision with the dude, and I'm not saying that it was close, but it damn well should have been you starching him. That's what they wanted. Like, this is why you were on the fucking card, is to knock this dude out. And they were on commentary talking about like it is against the rule for timidity or whatever it is at
Yeah.
it is at the ref's discretion. So like if he would have got a TKO that way, I would have at least been okay. But like, dude, 3 rounds of what we saw. And I wanted to bring it up earlier when you're talking about grappling and the inactivity that they do and how I'm bringing up the elbows, it would hurt. Christian Leroy Duncan and his knee strikes to the fucking thighs. I'm not with it. It's not fucking doing it on the scorecards for me. Elbows to the skull. Okay, okay. Now we're talking. Knees to the thighs, like all everybody else who gets against the cage and does nothing with the position. And like, bro, I don't know. This dude was really frustrating, and I really like Christian Leroy Duncan. I think the skill set is there. He tries too fucking hard to be John Jones. I don't know if you fucking caught that. Dude wants to be John Jones so fucking bad. He came in and did the one hand fucking, like old John Jones used to do. He loves that dude. He's got the fucking shorts just like it. It's his
He was
fucking.
doing the crouch opening as well, I think, wasn't he? Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
make this shit up, guys.
I didn't notice that, but yeah, good catch.
And I
Uh,
mean, you can see it in his striking too. Like he took the prime elements of John's like long range creative striking, and he made a whole fucking character out of it. Like that's all he does is the fucking side kicks or the fucking spin elbow. Like he just thinks that he's somebody that he's not. I don't know.
yeah, no, I mean, the fact that he was not able to finish this fight is
He
very.
puts the hat on backwards, like like he gets the hat and he puts it on backwards, like John used to do.
Oh shit, I didn't even know that.
When he won the
Oh
fight, he
yeah,
got the hat and he put it on backward.
uh,
Dude, he's a
yeah.
fucking
Wow, you're picking up on
fanboy.
those things that I didn't notice, but yeah, it's all clicking now that you're saying it. Um, Yeah, I mean, he started off with a nice heavy flurry and then clinches to shit for the rest of the round, which is like, bro, I mean, I guess Puliev had decent takedown defense, so give him that. But why? Why did you do that, CLD? Then CLD struck a bit more in round two. Puliev was on the retreat a lot in that round. You mentioned the timidity that Bisping was bringing up. CLD should have realized that he had this huge advantage and turned up the heat like 3 times as much. Like, go track the dude down. He's on the retreat for a reason. Like, he wasn't trying to throw back. So, I mean, if you got a guy that's that timid, I mean, like, I want to say that maybe like Puliev could have countered, but he wasn't doing enough to show me that it would have been. So, there's really no like threat coming at Christian Leroy Duncan. So like go out there and get
You
the
if
get the
you
win.
he's gotta draw it out. Like, if he's gonna sit there and counter and run away, it's like, if you're that good of a fucking fighter. Okay, Hyder Emil William Gomi is a good example. Hyder Emil went after it. Like,
Right.
it's not like he let him play the game. You can't let them just run around. And I'm not saying Puliev is one of those dudes. He literally was just run like, that's actually one of the worst examples of just not engaging at all. There was no counter ability. And bro, at some point, you gotta just know you're the fucking man. Like you gotta just go in there. The reason it's frustrating too is because I've seen Christian Leroy Duncan work in the clinch. I've seen him work in the clinch. You know, I've seen him bust up that Tululan dude, like elbows to shit, elbows that you've never even seen in your life, and he puts him on the ground and he keeps elbowing him, and it's a nasty, vicious performance. Then I see him in the clinch here, and what's he doing? Taking notes from everybody who's fucking winning, of course, unfortunately. And it's the people who grapple against the fucking cage and knee into the fight. Like that's, I don't know. It was very frustrating because I know Christian Leroy Duncan is not this fucking bad.
Right. That well, it's not that he was bad. He just didn't go after the win. Like, I mean, it feels like he got ahead pretty early in the fight and then kind of coasted at times, just getting by, knowing that he was going to get the win one way or another. I mean, you're talking about the shoulder strikes. I definitely liked those. I liked that he went for that flying jump knee. I mean that was cool too. But like,
It
you
was
kind of
cool.
yeah, it's cool looking, but like you make it work. I mean, or it's like if you do those things, then also fall back on the fundamentals when if you can land those things, if you can do that stuff, then that means that you can also traditionally strike as well. The guy is letting you do all of what you want to do. I called Guram Kutsataladze a sitting duck. Puliev was even more of a sitting duck. This should have been a finish.
I agree. This one was a really just hurtful performance for a guy that I really do like. And going forward, I really hope he takes notes to not let this happen because nobody's, this is not a top performance especially you already lost to RoboCop and he puts you in the fucking blender against the cage. What notes did you not take from him? You grinded an opponent that he willingly let you hold him against the cage for 5 minutes and 36 seconds. And you ain't do not a damn. I don't think I saw one elbow. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, it's true. I would like more out of it. That's what I say. I mean, it was a fine win if it wasn't somebody that we know could have gotten the finish.
Dude, this is like my electrician on the other end of Christian Leroy Duncan. Like,
Yeah, I guess so. Well, either which way, I mean, there really wasn't too much to say about Puliev aside from him being the sacrificial lamb that skated by without actually getting put down. So
I would not be surprised if he's cut. Like, that's actually a performance that like you got to question like Puliev. If you did this one, like this was your moment to like show like you want to be a fighter, you know. He really he wasn't really about it. I don't know. That was kind
Yeah,
of weird.
no, it's true. So yeah, hopefully Christian Leroy Duncan can put the pieces together to go out there and be the exciting fighter that he has been in the past and can be, especially against a guy who makes it easy for you.
Hmm.
That's what we want, you know.
True.
All right, pushing on here. Marcin Tybura versus Mick Parkin. Parkin walks out to ACDC, automatic point deduction. Tybura walks out to Creedence Clearwater Revival, automatic point addition. Chase, your thoughts?
This fucking fight. Oh my god. Blob Central is really like these two dudes. And this is another one. It's like going into this fight, I want to say people wanted to say like, oh, like these are heavyweights, but like the decision, it's pretty, it's live. And I wanted to disagree because Marcin Tybura, for what I've known of him, finish or be finished. You know, he's the reign that I've seen. His old age, he ain't got time for the decisions. He's subbing fucking Tuivasa. He's getting finished by Spivak. He's finishing fucking Denise. You know, like it was a pretty solid run. So for me to think that he would come in here and one make me forget, like I forgot how fucking disgusting this dude is. Tibera
Uh,
though is dude, this guy, he comes in here belly bouncing around every step that he takes. True heavyweight though. True, this is what the
yeah, I was gonna
heavyweight
say. I
experience
mean,
is about. Like
yeah,
this is you get it all. But man, but man, holy shit was this perform like these dudes like, actually, talking about the body, I'll actually give credit. Mick Parkin is a very slim 260 kind of guy. Like he don't have titties and a belly bouncing around, so I give him credit for that. But these two dudes fought like the dudes like at a bar. They have no coordination. They just got laid on for a little bit, stood and did nothing for a little bit. This was just this was heartbreaking because and the fact that Tibera won, looking at the stats now, because I'm thinking like, man, Mick Parkin, did he win? Like I had to remember, like, did he actually win? Because that's how unforgettable the performance was from both of them. Like you just had to rely on three dudes just picking the shit, like picking out a
yeah.
hat.
Well, I mean, a lot of those strikes are from the second round when Tybura was on the ground, and that was where Parkin did do his best work in this fight. But you're not wrong. I mean, this was boring heavyweight midness at its finest. This was a slow fight for the majority of it, slow first round, but I thought that at least in the first round, Tybura was actively pointing while Parkin was very inactive. Second round, Parkin had some good success on the ground in the wrestling exchanges. So like you'll see this is a familiar theme on this card, 1-1 going into the third. Like I feel like there were a lot of fights where that was the case, but so this another one that was the case. 1-1 going into the third. Third round was a lot like the first, maybe with a little bit more activity, but not much. I thought the Tybura did enough based on those parameters, but like again, this is another fight where, especially at heavyweight, where everybody's waiting for a knockout. Like somebody go and win this fight. I'm not talking about winning the fight as in like getting your hand raised. I'm talking about going out there and fucking wanting to win, having a sense of urgency and finishing the fight. Heavyweight, I always am reminded of a tweet. You know how they show the tweets on the screen during
Mhm.
the broadcast. Terrence McKinney is somebody that they show his tweets a lot. And I forget what fight it was, but he was like, "We come here to see heavyweights throw hands. We come here to see heavyweights knock each other out." Like,
Surprised they would show that on the screen, to be honest. Like
it's true. Yeah. I mean, well, because I'm sure it was a boring fucking fight, and I think it was a very
hell, it could
wrestle
have been.
heavy.
Hey, probably was this one. We just, who knows?
It could have been. You could just take that one tweet and just apply it to every one of these. But this is another example of like where heavyweight is very much either exciting and impactful striking or this. And so it was this fight. So I'm not mad that Tybura won this fight. I do think that he deserved to win. It's unfortunate that Parkin loses his O. That, we talked about that on the Thursday show. This is the meta going around right now. Obviously, the next fight bunked that trend, but actually, no, not that one. But then another undefeated fighter did not lose their O. So it's like, it doesn't have to be that way, but it is that way for this one. I'm not mad about that. I'm just mad that it wasn't what it could have been excitement wise.
I think what's also frustrating about this, not only is it heavyweights, and I normally pick decision for everything, and everybody's like, yo, you can't be picking decisions. And this would be a fight that I probably would have threw down decision on, but in my mind, Tibura's been a finish or be finished kind of guy. Mick Parkin just finished a guy. If he wants to make a name in the division, he's got to rack up some sort of like good streak of something. He can't just be the decision merchant fucking heavyweight. Like, oh my goodness. So the fact that he lost, that should be a fucking wake up call. But he's really just harmless. Like I've read that was the word going around in the Discord. That was the English, brothers saying like Mick Parkin is the most harmless heavyweight when it comes to striking. Like he's crisp and he's got the technicality, but Lord have mercy, can he not just like bomb somebody? Like I don't know. He did it to Bretsky, and that's why I mean it was maybe kind of fluky. That dude got knocked out by probably everybody, but this is what he gets for being a decision merchant. You lose to a dude that arguably didn't fucking win and looked disgusting in the fight. He was so at it. Like the first grappling instance in the first round gassed Tibura out for the rest of the fight. And he had no stand-up ability. There was nothing in the tank for him to actually like fight back. And it's just unfortunate that I thought like that was my moment. I was like, oh my God, Tibura's like super gassed. Like Mick, go for it. Like you gotta do something. But it was he just don't got it, man. And this is what he gets for being a decision merchant. A unanimous decision is crazy. I'm not gonna lie to you, because this is the most unjudgeable match ever. These two dudes are like not that great, and it's really hard to gauge who did anything better than either of them because they're both just mid as hell. And they're gonna go back to fighting like regular ass people again, and people are gonna hype him up like, oh, he fought this and that before. It's like, yo, I just watched him fucking suck.
Well, I mean, I guess that's a decent assessment of how the future could go for him. Uh, as far as Tybura goes, I mean, I would think that at some point he's got to be raising the stock just by the very nature of the fact that he has now beaten two prospects that they were trying to give to him so that they could bump him off.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like this is now twice in a row that Tybura has bucked the trend as far as because that's exactly what they were trying to do both times. You know that. I mean, like they wanted Tybura to get out of the top 10. They wanted to get some fresh blood into the top 10, and he's now said no to both of those.
Mhm.
So I gotta believe that he gets something out of that, but it's heavyweight, man. I mean, I'm blue in the face talking about how this division is so shattered right now. So it's like, what do you do? Do you just throw him in there with a dude that he's fought twice already at this point? Do we have him versus Spivak 3? We talked about during that fight. Exactly. I mean, like, what do you do though? This is why it's an unfortunate situation especially with a performance like this. You put that into the context and it's like heavyweight is just in shambles continuously. So,
Mhm.
Parkin, get some more confidence in the go after it kind of aspect of things. Like go out there and get your confidence up a little bit. You'd think fighting at home would have done that for him, but I guess not. I just think back to the fact that he went to a decision with Muhammad Usman. That's always going to be something that I'm like, that should be a one of those little dings in the back of your mind that sticks out.
True.
Um, but so it's like there's could still be a future for Parkin, perhaps, but what do you do with Tybura? I guess is my question here because he's fought most of the guys that are around him at this point. So you're just going to keep on the carousel, just going round and round in circles with these guys. But what else is there?
I mean, maybe that's the thing is there's nothing else right now for him. So it's just like give him prospects. I mean, if he does it, sure. I mean, that gives him a spot. We got to finish out 4 more fights in his contract. If not, well, he gets bucked off, and then we figure out some other shit later. So
I think that if Tom Aspinall is speaking truthfully about wanting to stay active and he wants to fight this year, regardless of if it's John, there's your fight right there. Go back, fight Tybura. Did he already fight him? I think he already beat him, didn't
yes,
he?
he already
Yeah,
knocked him out.
exactly. So go back and do it again.
Yeah, nice, love it.
Anyway, all right, let's keep this thing moving. Coming up on the better fight of the evening here, and I was correct actually. I thought I was incorrect about Lonnie or Kavanaugh being undefeated, but He is the undefeated fighter I was talking about, bucking the trend of the 2025 O's being snatched meta. But this is Lanier Kavanaugh versus Felipe Dos Santos. I know that you had a lot to say about Dos Santos with all of his dirtiness in this fight. Dos Santos fighting like a little bit of a scumbag in there in this one.
Literally fighting like an actual scumbag. And I think it's even more impressive on Lonnie's part that he won, didn't complain, he didn't take offense to it, and he also just completely whooped his fucking ass through it all.
Hell yeah.
I was watching with my dad, and he's like, "Yo, he's fucking he's fucking cheating." And I was like, "Yeah, but the other guy's winning." He's like, "Well, yeah, he is whooping his ass." So I was like, "Yeah, I mean, he is whooping his ass, guys." I mean, it was actually such a crazy performance. It was such an interesting performance too, because we actually said that Lonnie is a very all around prospect. Like, he's very good a lot of places.
Yeah.
And I feel like I even slighted him a little bit. Like, looking back, I feel like I don't think I did him justice. Like, this dude is one of the next flyweights up. He is able to muscle these guys around when it comes to grappling. He's able to get them on the mat. He's able to ground and pound like a fucking
A
madman.
bulldog.
Dude, he is so fun to watch. Like, and he's so powerful. His striking can be crisp. Towards the end of the third round, he did gas a lot. Not the end of the third round, but the third round in general, he was very gassed to start out. But he was still landing the bigger shots when it came to countering. And dude, the second round, talk about a 10-8. Talk about a 10 fucking 8. He was whooping this dude, and it was so fucking clear. 29-28 is pretty gracious, not gonna lie. The first round was the cut on the top of the head. I really don't want to score that too much in my opinion, because that's just blood for show. Like, even towards the end of the fight, you could like it ain't do nothing to him. He was looking fucking good. So
Uh,
I'm
I
I'm
was
s-
just sorry. I was
yeah.
just going to say that Bisbing actually called it 100% correct on that. He was like, "Yeah, it's just a cosmetic cut that didn't really affect him very much, but makes him look like a badass now."
Yeah,
Yeah,
the crimson mask was pretty cool. I think
yeah,
John Anik might have said that one, but this was a great performance, and I'm really excited to see Lonnie go forward because he is a fucking madman. Because listen, it was the first round. There was 3 fence grabs, like they were back to back to back, and Bisping even called it like, "Yo, like there's 1, 2, 3. Like, were you gonna do anything?" Or like, that's like blatantly cheating, like And then it comes to the second round when they get into the ground position, and this was second and third round he was doing this. He's literally fucking gripping Lonnie's fucking throat from the bottom position. The ref is just like watching it. Like, I know this is standard, but it looked a little much. Like, it looked like a little too much grip. So then you get to the third round, you get blatant elbows to the spine from the like, bro, and then the ref is just like, hey, whoa, 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 spine, buddy. Like, yeah, like, dude, this dude's been cheating. Oh, there was one more thing that he did that I can't remember that was like
the
blatant as
up
hell.
kicks.
The up kicks to the grounded opponent. My dad was sitting there watching. He's like, can you do like why is he doing? You can't do that. You can't, and he don't even know the modern rules. So like, that's a thing that's been around for a while. Like, you don't just, so he's putting his foot on his face and just like trying to short kick him, whatever the fuck I want to say. But it was ridiculous. And like I said, Lonnie, a fucking true Chad, just ate it, took it to the chin, got back on the ground pound, and beat this dude into the canvas. All the shots looked like they were fucking massive. DeSantos doesn't do himself justice that he takes the damage like a fucking, WWE superstar. Like, every time he gets hit, like, he's fucking flying around. And Lonnie, maybe he is that fucking strong. I mean, if you look at this dude's physique, like, his thighs are fucking huge. Like, he probably generates a massive amount of fucking power. So, shout out to Lonnie. Was able to do anything and everything, showed off all facets of his fucking skill set, even got a little bloody, and technically went to that first war that everybody has to go through. It wasn't necessarily one, but he bled. He took it like a champ, and then got his shit done. So I really like this dude. Like, coming to the flyweights, I know we talk about Andre Lima, and I talked about not true potential at the time. That was wrong, but I hope I didn't give any impression that I was slighting Lonnie. I just needed to see this performance first. I'm here for it. Like, holy shit, this dude is fucking good.
Yeah, no, it was me who was a little skeptical of Kavanaugh coming into this fight, and I'm in the same boat. I thought that this was the exact fight that I needed to see to have me pushed over the edge to be like, okay, this guy really is about his shit.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I mean, you ran down a lot of it, but just quickly go over some of these. Yeah, 3 finger warnings in the first 2 minutes from Dos Santos. Landed a few good shots in the first round. So I mean, Dos Santos getting that first round does not bother me, except for the fact that he probably should have had a point deduction. This is just, it seems like an England thing, because I remember me and Vitz King talking about this in Manchester as well. These referees just let shit go. We said in the Manchester card that like fence grabs are just legal in England. So whatever, but Dan Movaheady over here definitely letting a lot slide in this fight. Second round, Kavanaugh came out really hot, nice impactful shots on the feet and on the ground. As you say, he was really bringing the fight to him in that second round. Dos Santos with the illegal up kick from the ground, of course. Aside from that, some nice work off of his back, I guess. But it was clearly Kavanaugh's round. He is just a grind fighter. Once he is on you, he keeps his foot on the gas. He is very, like you're talking about his power. The power shows, man. It's so true. The
Yeah.
fact that he is such a small guy to be generating the power that he does, he is definitely going to be a problem. And then in the third round, I wanted to give him a lot of credit because he shot for a blast double that was so well timed and had Dos Santos flipping backwards immediately down. I was like, that was not only extremely well timed, but you could see the power in the takedown as well. So it's like this dude is putting his all into everything that he's doing. Sometimes that can be a little bit risky, of course. You get countered that way pretty easily, depending on who you're fighting. Higher level guys might be able to adjust to it a little bit differently, but it was working like gangbusters here for him. I quite enjoyed that aspect of it. But then, of course, Dos Santos with more downed opponent up kicks and the elbows to the spine as well, perhaps even an elbow or two to the top of the head, Vitz King was saying. I was like, those maybe look a little questionable. I wouldn't put that on him, but this guy is doing so much illegal stuff. The only things that he did not do in this fight, Felipe Dos Santos, is poke the eyes or kick the dick. That's the only things, which is like those are your standard fouls generally. That's normally what you see. This guy was doing side quest fouling over here. I mean, it was
He got
insane.
creative for sure.
Yeah, he really got creative with the amount of fouling he was doing. But Kavanaugh, as you said, credit to him for going through all of that, not saying a word about it. The output from Kavanaugh was fantastic throughout all of this fight. And despite all the dirtiness, he takes the decision. Aside from the scumbaggery, very good fight.
Yeah, 100%. I like this one. This one, I don't show my dad all of them, but I had to show him this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, as far as Felipe Dos Santos goes, bro, I mean, like, I had been saying in our predictions that I thought that he might have a little bit more to him. If this is what he has to him, then you can get this guy the fuck out of there, as far as I'm concerned, because
True.
like not because the way that I look at it is not only the fact that he is doing all of the fouling, but it's not advancing him towards betterment. Like, and I'm not saying that should be how it goes. You shouldn't foul your way to a victory, obviously. But like he's just doing scumbag shit that wasn't even in his own benefit, like to his own advancement in the fight. Like, so it's like, dude, you're just being a scumbag for the sake of being a scumbag at that point. Like, there needs to be more actual technical fighting going on. So yeah, this dude is on the shit list right now.
Can't enable this behavior.
Absolutely. And if you had referees, this is why I say we need to have more referees and more training when it comes to refereeing. If you had referees that were going to call these things a little bit more strictly, a little bit more by the book, then he probably would have lost at least a single point in this fight.
True.
So, yeah. So good job for Lonnie Kavanaugh going through some heavy adversity in multiple ways in this fight and coming out on top and keeping his O throughout all that as well.
Yep. I agree.
All right, moving on to perhaps the most boring fight of the card, and that's saying something here. This is Jai Herbert versus Chris Padilla. This fight reminded me why I do not like watching Jai Herbert fights.
You had a problem with him in this fight?
Just how the whole dynamics of everything. I thought that this was a complete snoozer. I mean, maybe it was just because we got a burst of energy from the last fight, but like, I mean, this was one of those ones where I just was like, I almost felt checked out. Except for the very, very end. They did turn it up at the very, very end. The last minute of this fight turned into like something worth watching. But throughout, I mean, that's 14 minutes of fighting that was just not engaging to me.
Yeah, because it wasn't Jai Herbert's fault. The dude walking forward trying to track the dude down. Yes, I had the point about Christian Leroy
I
Duncan,
was just gonna say.
but Jai Herbert's not that fucking guy. He's not no killer. We know that. So him following him around for fucking 15 minutes
But so
is
then
no
why? But
surprise
then
to
why
me.
am I watching this fight?
No,
Why are
no,
we
no, no.
watching?
But
Why
you're
you know what I mean?
blaming the
Like
wrong person. You're blaming the wrong
it
person.
takes two to tango. He could have gone out there and got after it a little bit
Chris
more. This is the man that head kicked Ilya Taporia.
Chris Padilla though engaged in none of he did nothing. He did nothing at all for the first 2 rounds. The first 3 rounds, the 3rd round they actually decided to do something and then he got cut at the end. So I don't even know how how do they even score the other rounds because Chris Padilla literally did nothing but back up and skate around side to side. Jai Herbert, we know, like I said, we know he's not that guy. We can't expect him to just go out there and track people down and make it a gritty fucking fight. Like he's just a normal guy. He's just a normal fighter.
Yeah, and
Chris,
I thought that he took all three of these rounds. By the way, like I
he,
honestly thought that he I thought it was such a boring performance that the judges couldn't recognize that
see,
he won this fight.
Henry knows, dude. Chris Padilla, not even sniffing nuts. I mean, I don't remember too much of that, but him skating around doing nothing was ridiculous. And then to end up getting cut at the end of the fight after doing all that stuff. Because all week I'm listening to the Discord, and it's one person specifically, Elite. He's talking about Chris Padilla as his boy because he's a dog. It's like I didn't see no dog here. And like I even said in this last fight, Rangzu was getting the better of him before he got a fucking once in a million fucking elbow shot. And I didn't fucking see that creativity here. He didn't go out here and get no fucking once in a million shot here. So
Yeah, I wanted to tell you, I actually went back and listened to our episode about that fight, and you were exactly on the money the way that you remembered it. Because yeah, that's exactly what you said in that fight.
nice. I listen, sometimes I question, but hey, it comes from the heart. Like that's how you know, like I'm straight and narrow with it.
True. But yeah, I mean, so in this fight, Herbert took round one due to advancing in generalship. I'd say, even if Padilla was up on the significant strikes, it was just boring. Round two, Padilla gained some control time, but I thought Herbert was still doing more. It was kind of hard to call, as I say, because I forgot the fight was actually happening at times. Third round was better action. In that last minute, Herbert gets wobbled and Padilla gets split open. So that was nice to see in the last minute. But again, after going through 14 minutes of it, I was kind of a little checked out. I had to kind of like jolt myself back into like, oh shit, something is actually happening. And now finally, so as I said, I thought that Herbert took all three of these rounds, but if you don't make the fight exciting enough for people to care, then even the
Give it to
judges.
the dude walking away from the fight if it's
No,
not
no, no.
exciting.
I'm
Yeah.
not saying that. No, I'm not saying it should have been this way, and it was a split decision. So at least one judge was watching enough. But
Yeah, the
yeah,
other two got their fucking nachos. I know.
exactly. They Taco was fighting. They needed nachos.
Yes.
That's how it goes. Sometimes you crave Mexican.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was unfortunate for a lot of reasons, and that's all. I don't know. That's all I got to say about it, really. I mean, like, I just thought it was boring. And, whether or not it was Padilla or Herbert or the two of them together, as I said, takes two to tango. And if the fight is going to be boring, I don't really want to assign too much blame on either side. It was a handshake agreement to be boring. It just sucks that the wrong person got their hand raised.
Yeah, fuck it. Fuck that fight was just bad. But I do want to shout out people in the chat.
Yeah, please.
Specifically my boy Henry, of course. I hope you're doing great.
Yeah,
Love you
shout out
around
to
here.
Henry.
And then the Finns chats, boy, I see you doing great work on Twitter. So I wanted to give you a little shout out right there. We'll
Yeah.
come in here and yeah, they did fight. Yeah, fuck it. Let's go. So anyway,
Yeah,
moving on.
shout out to
Main
everybody.
card
Thanks for
time.
hanging out with us. Appreciate you guys. All right, yeah, let's get on to this main card here. Starting off with, well, actually, before we jump into the fights of the main card, I did want to at least make a passing mention that the broadcast started out with a nice graphic commemorating the passing of George Foreman, boxing legend, of course. So R.I.P. to him. And Vitz King actually went out and purchased a George Foreman grill in his honor. We had grilled cheese sandwiches that night, and I got to tell you, Chase, they were fucking delicious.
If you ever listen, I want to just a side path because the George Foreman is pretty funny. But if you ever grew up watching Drake and Josh, you would know it as the Gary Coleman grill. Just a little funny side tidbit there for anybody out there listening. But no,
Okay.
rest in peace to George Foreman.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, a legend of boxing for sure. And unfortunate loss. But that aside, let's get into the fights here. Of course, we started off with Nathaniel Wood versus Morgan Charrier. I was riding pretty heavily for Charrier coming into this fight. And overall, I want to, in my defense, say that I thought that Charrier looked decent in this fight, but this was a pretty good performance for Nathaniel Wood, more so than I think that I'd seen in some of his earlier fights. So, what did you think of this fight?
I think I was right on the money. I was really close to having the biggest brain of them all. I'm not gonna lie. So when this fight was about to start, actually a little bit before, I was thinking like, dude, Nathaniel Wood, like, guys, he's like he's a boxer, like he's ready to throw hands. And Charrier, I've seen him get a little scrappy with the striking, So I'm just thinking Nathaniel Wood, him catching him ain't too far out. And what happened in that first round, man? He caught him straight clean, and I thought I was on top. Brainiac. I thought I was the Riddler, whoever, anybody else. This one was good for that moment, and then the rest of the fight was unfortunately back to the Nathaniel Wood striking, where it's not the most interesting, but it's like good enough to watch that you can just like have the fight going. But like it's another decision where after the first round, like I was hoping to get more of that. I don't know.
I just want to interject real quick to say, chat, anybody with Photoshop skills, chase as the Riddler. Make it happen. Um, Look, Wood came out hot, dropped Charrier midway through the first round, ends up on his back, but a solid round one for Wood, right? That was definitely good. Closer in the second round, few nice elbows for Charrier. I thought that after getting dropped, this is one of two fights, and we're going to definitely talk about the other one, where I feel like if the drop wasn't as solid of a drop, then it could have been a lot closer of a call here. But this was a solid drop for him. So, I give it to Wood. But you're right. I mean, the striking was just kind of textbook. The right hand was definitely there for Wood. He was sharpshooting with that thing. But then it's like the problem was as well that the third round was not a super active round on either side, where it was like, bro, you had this dude hurt in the first round. You took a little bit of adversity in the second. This was your time to really turn this thing up and swing this thing. I feel like we're saying this over and over again, but put a stamp on these rounds. I mean, like, go out there and go after it, because he was up. I mean, you get the drop. You took that round at least. If the elbows were enough in the second round to make it 1-1 going into the third, that's up to to the individual to decide. But if that's the case, if it's close enough to even think that that's a possibility, the fact that he's even still back in the fight at all, go out there and make that third round yours. But he still took that round. It just wasn't as active as it could have been. And they're talking about on the commentary how this guy never finishes, does not get the finish here either. It's hard for me to ride with Nathaniel Wood on fight merits alone. Good guy,
Mhm.
good family man, all the stuff that we've already said about him. I like him as a person, but so all of that being said, not a terrible performance overall for Charrier. I think the drop might have spooked him, and he never got into his groove because of that. And Wood just stayed locked in and carried himself to a decision. It's fine, but it's not what it could have been.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, Nathaniel Wood is going to put on a performance that you're going to watch him strike. I mean, that's about it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's really all that I had to say about this fight. I thought that Charrier carried himself well after getting dropped, but didn't realize, or like I said, maybe it spooked him into not being able to like initiate as much as he could have, because you're way down at that point optically at the very least. And if you had a decent second round, then again, the third round, if it was up for grabs, somebody should have went out and snatched it. Wood did enough. That's fine. Not a bad decision, but a decision nonetheless.
Yeah, I hear you.
All right. Well, let's
Yeah, that was a quick one.
I mean, really not too much else to say about it. If there was
That's
more,
I mean, that's really the problem. I mean, you're not giving us much to emphasize after a performance. I mean, it is a winning performance, dominant 30-27, but all the takeaway is like, I mean, he did it again. He did it again. He did the decision thing again, guys. So,
yeah, yeah, and I mean, I agree with the commentary saying that like this is what's going to set you apart as somebody who, like, there are levels to this game. You have to be a guy that can go out there and finish. I mean, like, you can't make it so down the line definitive that anybody picking the fight to end by decision is just, that's now a minus 300. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, dude. Like, we need a little bit more out of you. So make it happen there, Nathaniel Wood. I mean, I'd
Yeah.
like to see it. I'd like it. Again, good guy. He's the type of person you want to root for. So give us a reason.
Yep. I hear you. Yeah, dude. I mean, that's all it is.
Yeah. All right. Well, the talk of the Discord, the talk of the Thursday show, Chris Duncan versus Jordan Vucenic. Man, I guess we got to give a shout out, even though he did not show up like a bitch. Got to give a shout out to Tosh because he was riding for his guy, Chris Duncan, and he was correct.
I want to make a note that he was very confident in Chris Duncan winning this fight. I was very confident that if Chris Duncan was going to win, he was going to finish. I didn't think the decision was going to come, and it was a good call. Unfortunately, I didn't have the money to bet around this time because Guram. So we'll leave it to that guy. Anyway, this performance, and I don't want to sound. I know there's two parts to it, and I don't want to sound like a hater on one part. The first part, I guess we'll start. Amazing performance. The teep kick into the Superman punch that drops Vucenic was amazing. The guillotines that he was throwing up, they were looking a little silly, a little gilly silly type of deal. But then eventually he was able to get it done. And it was actually an interesting position to get it done. You would have thought Vucenic was able to pop his head out, but that grip was just locked in there. Now, what I think is the haterish part of this, and I'm not trying to say it that way. I just really would like to see Chris Duncan improve in the striking department. And I know that's crazy to say after the first round knockdown, but after he had to, he knocked him down, and then they got to wrestle for the entirety of the second round or the entirety of the first round, which it wasn't too crazy of a performance after the knockdown. He wasn't doing he was not doing much of the ground and pound. He was more of just grinding for position up until the bell. Now, the second round, it looked like he was laboring a lot from the grappling. It looked like he was already a little sluggish. The striking wasn't as crisp as it was in the first round. Now, as soon as I started to think that in the rewatch, as I was typing it, I do remember him looking a little better. Like, he collected himself. He took a deep breath. He's back on track. But the striking is still not something that's the craziest in the world. And I'm really hoping that, his power can make up for it. But, he's got to get creative to set it up in that sense. Like you saw how he had to do it in the first round. His boxing, it doesn't feel like the most technical where he can just set stuff up off an easy combination. It's like he's got to get kind of wild with it to get you off guard, and then he can drop a big bomb. But it was a great performance, and I'm really expecting more out of him. I just really think the striking is where it's got to come. Like the grappling is obviously, you watch Diego Lopez get 2 subs, and then now he's knocking people out. Like that's how you got to build it. They know that you want to go to the ground, and then every time you're about to shoot, you just uppercut. Like I don't know. It's crazy.
I can see the assessment there. I'd be a little bit more charitable than but I understand the reasoning. So I'm with you on how you're looking at things. So I definitely thought that this was a nice dominant performance from Duncan. I mean, he came out the gate very engaging heavily. Like, he went after it, which is what we were talking about a lot of these fighters. Like, go after it and try to win this fight, and that's exactly what he did. So I appreciated that aspect of it. Of course, dropped Vucenic in the second minute there, nearly finishes on the ground right then and there, controls thereafter. Had that really nice up and down drop. Really appreciated that aspect of the first round. So good dominant round there. Got to give Vucenic some credit for landing some nice hands in the second round, because he did. Obviously he knew that he was down at that point. So fighting like he wanted to come back into it. So I can appreciate that aspect of it. Jump Gilly did end up working, which is, very rare. And my big note for that was, it looks great when you can get it. And of course, he's now done it twice. He reenacted the Belagioki submission with that one. So obviously he's pretty aware of the positioning and how you have to be set up for it. But as you go up through the rankings, and this piggybacks off of what you're saying here, Chase, as you go up through the rankings, that's not going to fly with the higher level of this sport. I mean, or it's very, very infrequently, unless you are 10,000% sure that you have it, that is going to work. So you do need to become the full, well-rounded package in order to either set that up for it to work, or B, have another thing in your back pocket so that if it doesn't work, you're not continuously trying to go back to a well that's dry.
Right.
So I understand the assessment. This fight right here was a great fight for him, so he definitely deserves his praise. But I could see there being some problems down the road for him unless he does continue to elevate his game.
I'm excited to see it going forward. Like he said in the post fight, which was a slight shade to Mr. Paul Craig. He's the most exciting Scottish fighter.
I
Listen,
am the man. He
yeah,
said
I
it. He
mean,
said it straight out. I think that's a great clap. I want to get that for the soundboard or something. Like
yeah,
that's a really nice drop. Just I am the man.
yeah, he's got a good. That was a good bar, and then he called out Terrence McKinney. Um,
I like it. It's fine.
I think it was a fight that it's supposed to have been made before, somebody said,
Oh, okay.
and they canceled, or whatever the case is. So the call out is good. That is a finish or be finished type of performance. The striking will concern me because Terrence McKinney in the first round can be vicious, and he does have good striking. So Chris Duncan, you just gotta listen. He his style doesn't lend well to a very like technical, like if you watch how he's like in his stand up, like he's a very like it's very sluggish and brute looking. Like it's not a very clean, crisp, up guard kind of deal. So I just really hope that he's able to tighten it up because it looks a little wild when he goes for it. And I think that's, it only takes a little amount of technicality to counter a wild style, straight punches get there faster than looping punches, whatever you want to say. So I just really hope he's able to get something good going. I know there's some good strikers that he can get with, plenty of them that he knows. He's at a very good team, which was really weird to see or to hear him say that American top team is the
Yeah, that
greatest
was
in the world.
a little
I was
odd.
like, Scottish man saying that, man, maybe they are like maybe who knows? But so yeah, this was just a really good performance. I'm really happy for Chris. Like this was again, I was wearing the shirt of him at the time, so it was a good full moment. I had his picture on my back. I had the Hive logo with the Scottish flag on my chest, and Chris Duncan was able to get this fucking dub like a Chad. So
Yeah, very nice win for Duncan for sure. And Vucenic, I mean, I hope that he has some maybe one more chance, but now 0-2 in the organization, he's treading on thin ice for sure.
and we alluded to it back at the first fight. I'm really glad that I had the insight. If Guram doesn't look that good, we better be worried about Jordan Vucenic. And the fights had nothing to do with each other. They fought completely different. There was completely different circumstances, but in some way, some capacity, you could have seen it coming.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens for Vucenic. I hope that Bruce Buffer tattoo was not for naught.
You know, and it's like with that the tattoo regarding part. It's like
Mhm.
he did get to the UFC. That moment did happen. That's like something you would get a tattoo of, right? Like to remember a really good moment or whatever. It's like he gonna retire one day anyways. It's gonna be a tattoo in the past. Like, I think it's fine. There's no reason for people to be like clowning
Oh no, I'm
well, he
not.
got a
Yeah.
tattoo, like whatever.
I'm not trying to clown him off of that. I just hope that there's more for him in the organization than I don't know. I was using that as a
He
framing more
could
than
he
anything.
could get it covered up and get the karate combat, dude. I mean,
I just have to continuously keep stamping a new logo on there every time.
no, not a new logo, a new announcer's face. It's a little more
Oh, there you
detailed than
go.
that.
Yeah. I was gonna say it'd be a pretty heavy cover up job, but yeah, trade that out for
Well,
Robin
you've
Black.
seen what he does with his cover up job. He just covers the entire fucking thing. So,
Boy, does he ever.
yeah.
All right. Well, before we move on to this fight, I
Actually, one
yes,
last thing.
yeah, oh yeah,
Most interesting
sure.
tattoo that Jordan has is
Hmm.
inside the ear. I don't know if you saw
I
that one.
did not. What is it?
I think it's just a flower or something, but it's like on the cartilage, like so he's lucky he don't have no cauliflower ear because that tattoo's distorted as shit when that shit happens. So
Yeah.
it,
What
it's
happens when you run out of space? I mean, I guess you're just done at that point, huh? You start tattooing other people and claiming them as your own. What do you like?
well, it's funny. It's like they all have spaces. Like it's like there's obviously spaces like that they can't get him or they don't want to get him. It's like he could get his feet eventually. If you really want to go for it, get the toes. You got to get the toes tattooed, man. I mean, if that's really the case, he still has a whole face too. You got to think about that.
It's true. I mean, he's got a couple on the face, but he does have a lot of real estate there, so maybe a couple more, you know?
He's got to get his ass with the problem tattooed on it, though. I don't know if you heard that.
I did know, yes, I did hear that, and we'll see if he lives up to his end of the bargain on that one. I mean, Duncan was
I
saying it was just social media saying that, but I was like, I it sounded pretty legit when y'all were talking about it. I don't know.
I mean, but yeah, Bisping brought it up, and I don't know if you heard Bisping also. He said this is a bet that he would back out of.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe it's just more ink for Vucenic. It's like, walking down the street
Yeah,
to
this
him.
wasn't even a fucking challenge for him. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'll get your name." And he's like, "No, dude, you gotta." Once I win, that he was like, "No, no, I'll get your name.
Right.
I'll
Yeah,
get it."
exactly. All right. Well, we'll see what happens to this guy going forward. But before we move on to this next fight, I had mentioned it real quick. The Sweet Caroline shit has to stop. I hate sing alongs at sporting events. Back when I was covering hockey, this is something that they do in hockey very often now. You get the Blink 182 sing along. In Dallas, they do the I've Got Friends in Low Places sing along. Stop with this sing along shit. I don't fucking like it. And I hate the song Sweet Caroline. So I don't care that it has the little bop, bop, bop part for you to sing along to. You look like morons. Stop doing it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty crazy that nobody even knows that Neil Diamond was like not that fucking good of an artist, I guess. Like he has like 3 hits, I'm pretty sure. Like that's the one thing that everybody's going to hold on to for life. And it's like and he don't even say the bop 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 in the song. Like it's crazy to think about. So,
Yeah, it's true. And yeah, so whether or not you're a Neil Diamond fan, that's completely up to you, but I hate that song and I hate hearing it at my sporting events. Stop mixing it in with my MMA.
I hear you.
Had to get on the soapbox for a second there. But Molly McCann versus Alexia Thayanara. Alexia Thayanara with the longest dance walkout in the history of this sport. Perhaps chill on that a little bit. What are you thinking, Chase?
No, no, no. I actually think listen, you step in to London on 10 days notice and this is your debut or whatever. I mean, I really don't blame her for soaking in the moment. Like it didn't seem like she was like, "Oh, I got a dance routine that I'm trying to show the world." It did seem a little overzealous, but like by the time she was done, I mean, it's like I mean, I guess that's what she does. I mean, and I don't blame her. It's like I said, debut, you're coming to London, 10 days notice. Why not fucking just soak it up? Live it up, have a good time. I did see somebody say like that's a lot of dancing before a fight, like and I didn't think of it like, oh well, she's doing a lot of I'm thinking like, man, she might be tired as shit after this. Like she is doing a lot of jumping around and you know, but didn't fucking matter. She went in there and handled fucking business. She put Molly McCann on the mat and then she fucking choked her out.
Yeah.
It was nasty. And I even thought for a second Molly would get out. Nah, no, never.
Nah. I mean, yeah, well, I guess the note is that if you're going to do that much showboaty pageantry, then you better go out there and win the fight. And she did do that. So
She will get another they will give her the time allotted to do her 3-minute dance next time because she finished, I bet you.
yeah, and a fan favorite at that. So, yeah, no, I mean, look, this was a dominant performance for Thainara, all things considered. I mean, she got Molly down so easily, the leg grab into the trip. I mean, I hate to say that it's like 101 stuff because it's not. I mean, that's a little bit more like actual MMA than, something that you should be picking up day one at the strip mall karate. But like for a high level mixed martial artist, there needs to be a little bit more awareness than that, a little bit more active defense and a game plan for what happens when, a game plan for you to get to the next position if you're going to go down in the first place, which it did not seem like Molly had. Just mistake after mistake by Molly on the ground leads to the round 1 rear naked choke for Thainara. And then, of course, Molly retired after that, which I'd hate to say that I feel like it's appropriate, but if she feels like it's appropriate, then I'm completely okay with it after a performance like that.
I mean, I actually was gonna say she's the only smart person that appeared on the entire card because she was so level-headed enough to say, and I quote, if I lose to somebody on 10 days notice on their debut, it's like, come on, let's quit kidding ourselves, guys. Like, come on. And I applaud her for that because she actually did have enough balls to say, like, this is just not for me. I'm just not the one. I was the first English fighter to win in the UFC or whatever the little stamp they said. Um, I know
English woman?
English woman, yeah.
Yeah, English woman. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, she got smoked very easily. She made a lot of dumb decisions. Like, it's not that she's just not like great, because she might be very, very good in the behind closed doors or whatever. But like when you're watching it and you're just laughing at the things that she's doing to get herself in the positions that she does, like it's just hard. It's a good hate watch if you hate Molly McCann, but like I don't even hate, I don't even hate her for a performance like this is because like we should have known better, Molly. Like we could have saved you from this. I don't know.
Well, and I think a lot of people did. I had Thainara as like my linchpin of most of my parlays for this exact reason, knowing what she was capable of based on her contender series fight and knowing how Molly fights. I don't want to rag on Molly too hard because I do think that she's a good person. And as far as women's MMA, especially in England, of course, she is a bit of a trailblazer in that regard. I saw a nice tweet that somebody had put out saying that like that his daughter, it was a guy who was saying that his daughter was inspired to start combat sports because of Molly McCann, and now he's learning about combat sports because of all of that. This, a person who had no interest in MMA before that, now through his daughter is becoming a fan, and it was all started because of Molly McCann. So, as an inspiration to young girls in England and in the world, I think that there's a lot of merit to that, and she seems like a very nice person on top of that. Perhaps if I ever go over to England, I will go to her cannoli shop and get myself a roll and a cannoli. I like that she has an exit strategy from the sport when it comes to what happened inside the cage. You're right. I mean, it's perhaps the only smart person on the card. Is not an inaccurate assessment if that's the type of fight that she was going to have. So congratulations to Thainara for getting a nice win over a big name, because that certainly catapults you up pretty quickly. We're gonna have to see about Thainara now. I mean, going up against somebody who's a little bit more well-rounded, especially when it comes to women's MMA. I mean, ground game specialists all day long. So, there's going to be a lot better people on the ground who are going to give her a problem. But in this moment, she got a nice win on short notice, and Molly makes probably the wise choice to start a new chapter.
Yeah, we probably could have seen at least 4 people retire on this one, and I wouldn't have, you know, it would have been okay. Molly, though, she got to retire in front of her hometown crowd or whatever. You can't really paint a better picture. She could have kept going and felt like it was over, and she could have just walked away in the apex or something. Who knows? Molly, though, went out on her own terms, unfortunately after a loss, and uh, you know it's hard to hate somebody. Like I don't hate any of the fighters, of course, but like when you watch somebody and they're not your favorite fighter, but then you watch them continuously, to fight even though they're not the greatest. It's inspiring to a sense. Like shout out Molly, the story you told about her and the trailblazing for this young athlete. But Molly she's cool. I'll give her some respect.
Yeah. I've always thought she seemed like a very pleasant person. So, respect for achieving what she had achieved. I mean, whether or not she was the greatest to ever do it is kind of irrelevant. The fact she did it at all is more than a lot of people in this world could ever say. So, congratulations to her. And I hope that she's very successful in her future endeavors. But it was Thainara's night, and
Oh
that's
yeah.
that's just how that goes.
Hell yeah.
All right, so let's move on to this fight. I know that we've been going through this entire card leading up to this fight. I feel like this is Kevin Holland versus Gunnar Nelson, and I know that you've got a lot to say about my boy Gunnar Nelson, and so do I. So would you like to start it, or would you like me to?
I would just like to say first that I was supposed to believe that Gunnar Nelson's grappling was gonna be something to behold. Like this guy, they really thought this guy was gonna be Habib against fucking anyone, and I just can't believe that one, it wasn't. as crazy as people were making it out to be, because good old Kevin Holland, just the normal old black belt of a guy who just normally just shows up and does whatever he wants. Like, he was able to be goofy enough to win this fight very, very easily. And to mention that with the Habib talk, with Gunnar Nelson's crazy fucking grip strength, apparently, he was able to lock in the tightest choke ever just for Kevin Holland to prove BJJ just doesn't even exist. And I'm just going to roll on my neck out of it. And there's nothing you can do about it. I don't know how he did it. I watched it again. I showed my dad the fight, and he literally just rolled over. He just did not care. And it was pretty crazy to me, because like, we've seen so many people, like, they're going out in that position, and like, they're going out, and then, like, they tap or whatever. So Kevin Holland's just giving a thumbs up, like, "Dude, I'm good, dude, I'm good," and then just rolls over, gets out of it. Now, that's one of the funnier things that he's ever done in this fight. But the one earlier that was really goofy as well is he had Gunnar in an omoplata, and then Gunnar picks him up, and then we have about a solid, I'm maybe exaggerating if I say 30 seconds, but 15 still sounds pretty long, of just Kevin just he's just hanging there, just hanging in the air.
He had
Just,
Kevin looking like carry-on luggage.
yeah, I mean, and they're talking to each other like, "Oh yeah, I'm good, bro. I'm good." Blah 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 blah. But it was just a really funny fight, and Kevin was able to win it. And let me actually add. This is the point I want to make. I want
Okay.
to make this point. Kevin Holland was able to win this fight against somebody who had every grappling advantage in the fight. He had all the dominant positions, and this dude was supposed to be the most dominant grappler that Kevin Holland has ever fucking seen, apparently, even though he's fucking fought Hamzat, by the way, guys. So I don't know. I think Kevin Holland really impressed me a lot, and he showed why I'm glad I was going with him. Like, I don't know.
Well, for you to say that Kevin won this fight easily is crazy.
It was
This is
so,
this is
my
crazy
God.
to me that you thought that. Well, all right. So first round was frantic, right? Gunnar with a lot of high level grappling. I thought that he did a great job in that first round up until the last 10 seconds. Even, the carry-on luggage thing
Yeah, I
which
didn't
you
even
talked
talk
about.
about him dropping. I
Yeah, I
forgot
was
all
gonna say.
about that.
So just as I was feeling confident in Gunnar with that first round, Kevin, that was the funniest moment of the fight to me, was the
True.
drop. Because after all of this high level grappling, Kevin stands up, says, "Fuck this," and blasts Gunnar in the face. Round
It looked
one
exactly
knockdown.
like what happened with Buckley too. He just walked in and just blasted a 1-2, and it's like his arms were too long for him to gauge, and he just gets caught. Like,
Yeah, kind of. That's pretty accurate. But I gets the knockdown late in the round, and Gunnar is definitely saved by the horn on that one. Like, that had that been an extra 30 seconds, that probably would have ended the fight. So I was very, very concerned going into these second and third rounds. But round two was close. A lot of wrestle fucking initiated by Gunnar, good navigation by Holland. But still, that it was when we talked about the Kalen Lochran fight and all that, as far as like how I'm looking at some of these things or whatever, you can feel how you want to feel about that round. All right. Round three, Gunnar nearly sinks in the head and arm choke that you talked about, doesn't get it. Still enough work, in my opinion, for him to win that round. So all of that said, if round one was for Kevin Holland and round three was for Gunnar Nelson and round two was close, then this was a very close fight. And how the fuck do you think that this was an easy win for Kevin Holland?
I mean, you just have to be honest with yourself. You could no, listen. You can't sit here and tell me a guy who landed 30 strikes, an average of 10 per round. You can even do the math, because one round, I'm pretty sure he landed 0 strikes or some shit like that. Maybe that was Leon.
That was Leon. Yeah, I have that in the notes.
But it can't be too far off. I mean, if he only landed 30 in the fight, you can't sit here and confidently say that he won. Like, okay, maybe one round if he landed all 30 of
I'm
them
not
in
saying
one
that he
round.
won. I'm just saying that it was way closer than anticipated, and not.
I don't even think you can argue that, because in the grappling department, Gunnar wasn't doing anything. Kevin Holland was doing such a good job of just holding his hands back and keeping him in a stalemate position, and then actually,
He nearly
creating
submitted him.
by the listen, nearly submitted him. Kevin Holland nearly knocked him in the first round. Do we want to play
But
this game?
that's my point as to specifically about it was an easy cakewalk for Kevin Holland. I don't think it was. I think
And the way
if
that
it
he got out
wasn't for the drop, I feel like this could have been an either way fight.
Do you think Kevin Holland felt any urgency in that choke? I mean, I'm not saying it in a sense that it wasn't a killer choke, because it was, but like, Kevin Holland gave the thumbs up. He was good. He was breathing, and then he rolls right out of it. I mean, it was a crazy choke, but it was just an impressive thing to have happen after it. It's like, can you really talk about close? It's like he was there. Like he didn't have any concern. Now you want to talk about concern. You got Gunnar Nelson getting up wobbling after the bell because, and I wanted to bring it up earlier about they waved the bell twice earlier in the first fight. Gunnar also didn't fucking know the bell ended or whatever because he got rocked right after it or whatever because Kevin threw it was a little late. It was a little late. I want to say it was a little late, but this one, yeah, Kevin won pretty
I was
easily.
gonna say,
Come on, Sarah, thank you.
Saratobi backing you up on this one, fine.
Dude, the ground strikes were brutal. He was actually doing a lot of good up kicks too, which weren't dirty, but he was trying to hit him in the head with his heel. They were just like short little choppy ones. They weren't full on swinging, Kevin Holland did so much good work on his back. This was a very impressive fucking win.
Well, all right. I mean, fair. It was a win. This was
Impressive.
Yeah.
Okay. Why
I
wouldn't
feel
it
like
be
it was
if
a
you
close.
thought?
I feel like it was a closer fight than people are giving Gunnar credit for. I feel like Gunnar is just getting walked all over in this fight. Like he didn't do anything. He was very
What did
active.
he do though?
The first round, he nearly submitted him in the third, and he was super active in the first. I mean, like,
But
if
the
it
first
wasn't
round,
for
okay, super active in the first, and then he gets dropped. Okay,
right, that's what I'm saying. And yes,
okay.
but this is why I'm saying that he lost the fight. I'm not saying that he
But
won
then
this
you go
fight.
from that. But then you go from there. Okay, second round, and he's not doing. If the second round, okay, you're only talking about the first round he was active. Okay, then he gets dropped. Second round, you don't even want to talk about it because it probably was to Kevin Holland. Anyway, third round is
I
what I'm
never
saying.
said I didn't
And
want
then
to talk about it. I said that he
no,
did a lot
no,
of wrestle
no. But
fucking.
I'm saying no. I don't mean it like that. But like you're bringing up the first round and the third round with the choke. Okay, so if he didn't do anything from the first round up until getting dropped, up until the choke at the end of the third, it's like that's not
But see,
gauging. I don't know.
but this is
That's
what I'm trying to say. This is what I was bringing up in the Kalen Lochran fight is that if Kevin Holland is not turning offense in his direction and all of the initiation is coming from Gunner, then that to
I
me, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I don't understand how you can't like weigh that a little bit more heavily.
I think I made a great point in the Nathan Fletcher, fight. It's like Kevin Holland, it's not like he wanted like okay, you're looking at it from a lens. It's like, okay, Kevin Holland can't get up. Okay, he's not trying to get up because he's at a position where he's winning the fight. He's busting him up with elbows in and keeping it close and keeping Gunner at a position that he can't even land strikes. And it was listen, this was a great performance for Kevin Holland. Showed exactly why he's actually a very well-rounded skill set in the division and another division. He can just pull wins off whenever you think that he's not going to. And it's funny because listen, and it's funny too to mention this. You got Gunnar Nelson, who's like the hybrid, right? He's like the Wonder Boy karate stance, and then he's got the fucking grappling, right? And Kevin Holland still fucking managed. Like
Well, and that was going to be the end note for me on this fight is that this was the Kevin that I was afraid was going to show up, the Kevin that actually cares to win the fight. So I mean, this really does prove the point that everybody has about Kevin Holland. It's like you never know what version is going to show up. Now, I mean, I guess you could, in hindsight, it's like, oh yeah, he has to kind of show up now because he's been losing so fucking much that he needs a win. So for that aspect of it, yeah, when Kevin Holland is on point and locked in, then this is what you should expect out of him. But it just was kind of an average win in that regard to me. Like, I mean, he should have finished the fight then if it was going to be this amazing performance overall. Like, I mean,
I
grant
mean, the bell
yeah.
rang, so
So round 2 and 3, you had two more rounds to do it. You had 10 more minutes that you could have made that a
well, he had
definitive
bro
win.
laying on him for like, bro, 9 minutes of control time, and you did
BJJ doesn't
absolutely.
exist. Just get up.
I mean, he did at the end of the day. He did.
So
He didn't want to get up until he actually needed to, which was the choke, and then he definitely got up. I give him listen. Anyway, anyway. I will say this: Gunner is not the worst. I do want to ask though: do you believe ring rust played a factor?
Um, no, I don't think that it was ring rust.
Wow.
I do think it's skill for skill because Gunner he's always that way. He fights
He
like
w he
once or
would
twice.
always throw this little strikes and do this much control time.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of his style, though. That's what I was saying. He's a ground game guy. I mean, he's a grappling specialist, like first and foremost. So
I would have been praising you right now if he would have got the sub. Just know that. But
sure, yeah, exactly. So that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, and this is why I'm saying, like, I'm happy for Kevin Holland. Happy that he got the win. He deserved the win. He got the win. It is his fight to, I'm not trying to say that this was a robbery or anything like that. I do think, though, that my thought process was not entirely incorrect when it came to Gunnar. I thought he did pretty good in this fight overall. That's what I'm trying to say here.
if he was such a high level BJJ guy, I think he would have been able to get Kevin Holland a little less comfortable on the ground. Because that's what it looked like to me. Kevin Holland was comfortable in those positions. When he wanted to stand up, he eventually did. And other than that, he was coasting to a win, in my opinion. There was no reason to think that he was losing in this fight up until the choke, and then he never ended up losing. So
Fair. All right. Look, I will concede on this point, but I think that at least my thought process was correct, and that is what I'm going to take home and put under my pillow so I can sleep good tonight.
well, actually, and one last point, I alluded to it earlier. It's like it's hard to justify in a mixed martial arts bout that the man with 30 strikes, he only threw 44. Remember that. Like
Yeah, I mean that is low output when it comes to striking. I admit that, but I do think that those numbers for Holland seem a little inflated. 138 significant strikes, or I mean 138 total strikes landed.
it may or may not be, but like it at least looks good on paper if you got to justify it. If you're justifying a dude in a mixed martial arts bout, I don't know. The striking is a big portion of it.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, and had he been a little bit more active with his hands, then perhaps this could have been slightly different, or maybe the perception would be a little bit different. I think a lot of things could have been slightly different had certain aspects not come into play. But, it's like Sarah Toby makes a good point. Almost doesn't count. So I take my licks on this one. I'm just saying that I'm not too mad at myself about where my head was at coming into this fight.
I hear you.
All right. All right. Well, let's move it on to the main or co-main event here. This is Jan Blachowicz versus Carlos Ulberg. If we had a lot to say about that last fight, I don't know if we're gonna have as much to say about this one. But what'd you think, Chase?
I have just known for a while that if Carlos Ulberg was that guy, he would have been he would have been in that opportunity by now. The UFC clearly knows that they have to handpick for this guy for him to be able to, and it's a unanimous decision, but this is skating by, in my opinion, of a guy who's 42 years old coming off of double shoulder surgery, and he's barely able to make it a matchup. He does this whole thing where he runs the entire time, skating by, fights exactly like a city kickboxing fucking guy. It's ridiculous how much that they tout this dude on being some knockout fucking god, and he fights like this. It's actually pretty annoying because when you get down to the judging, you don't reward Jan for walking him down the entire time. The bigger shots, honestly, it could have gone either way. They both weren't really doing much because they couldn't engage because Carlos Ulberg is just running the entire time. Which, where are you getting 29-28 from a dude who's like doing miles in the cage? Like, it's actually really absurd. And just like I imagine, Carlos Ulberg just not being that guy still stands with it. He called for a title shot after this. Holy shit. I get that Jan is like in up there in the picture, but like just no way you thought that was a good idea.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I'm hearing what you're saying on Ulberg. I think that this fight definitely portrayed a lot of that sentiment. This was a slow fight, low output on both sides. I mean, round one, few heavy kicks to the legs for Jan, but Ulberg was doing better with the striking up top and more active overall. So I gave him that round for that reason. Round two was close. Round three was close. I mean, like it was a close fight. Now I understand that like the I guess you want to call it evasiveness from Ulberg to engage plays a big part in here. I would say that it was decent strategic fighting because Jan is powerful. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just being a little bit more generous, but I had Carlos taking the second round on the night, but on the rewatch, Jan made it pretty competitive and may have had the better striking throughout that round. But round 3, Carlos was a little less active, but Jan barely landed because of Carlos's defenses and evasions because they were on point. So it's like, yeah, if you're saying that that's timidity or if you're saying that that's him running, I could see that element of it. But I think that he was just pointing well enough and trying to stay out of the way of some heavy hands from Jan. It's like, you don't want to be on the losing end of a big Polish power knockout. So strategic fighting makes sense, I guess. I'm being a little charitable to him, I think.
I don't know if you could tell, but I could totally tell right away. He has been, I don't know if it's because he's been training with him. I'm going to take the guess, but he's been training with Navajo Sterling because his stance, he's got that twitch, he's got his like little nose thing now. He picks it up right from him. It's weird.
Oh, is he
But
doing that? I did not notice that.
that's it, dude. Yeah, it's like the
Oh
exact
shit.
same fucking thing.
Let's
So,
watch out for
um,
that.
so if Navajo starts fighting like this, I'm gonna be upset because Navajo is a dude that I would like to believe is gonna come out here and stand to bang. Carlos Oberg putting a bad reputation on the stand and bang. If the Aussies are here to bang, Carlos Oberg is walking away from it. Like this is, I mean, a New Zealander, but you get the point. The Islanders, whatever. It's just a bad look. This dude is just not that fucking guy. And it's unfortunate that these are the dudes that are rising to the rankings, the people that are just skating by with performances that we know are not fucking worthy of top contention.
Well, okay. So I think that when it comes to this fight specifically, Jan Blachowicz decided that he wanted to come back. I had said on Fight Show, I'd said it on the Thursday show that I thought that it was a little wild that Jan's even coming back at all, right? But he decided he wanted to. So you have to put him somewhere. I think that this fight made sense for that reason, but it's going to be like that jump off point and now Ulberg is thrown in with the real wolves. You know what I mean? So it's like I'm not too mad at this because like Jan Blachowicz had to fight somebody. If it was going to be a charitable matchup, maybe throw him like way, way low in the rankings. But Ulberg was, I think, 8th or so coming into this fight or something like that. So I mean, this does jump him up decently. I forgot where Jan ended up landing in all of that equation, but he was still highly ranked even after being inactive for all that time. So this essentially ends up being like a shake-up fight. But now Ulberg has to go up against the real killers. So it was going to happen one way or another. I don't know who else would have really been the better fight for him to prove himself because like it's light heavyweight. I mean, there's like a lot of shakeups and weird stuff going on in general. I mean, you throw him straight to Khalil, it's like I don't know what else you would have done, but now he's going to have to go up against guys who are going to be a little bit different. I think light heavyweight just has a bunch of weird styles and guys who are kind of doing one thing and that fighting in a way that you think they should fight, but then they don't do that, and then fighting a different way sometimes. I mean, like obviously we saw the belt just change over very recently off of a performance that didn't seem like it should have won the belt, in my opinion. So like there's just like light heavyweight is just in an odd state with that. So hopefully like everybody just tightens up in general across the board.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, this one, dude, with a performance like this, I know when you win, it's like custom to fight up, but like with a fight like this, you defend your place. Don't go fight for another spot in the rankings. You defend this spot because you don't even deserve to have it, in my opinion.
Fair. I wouldn't have been mad with either guy winning this fight after having rewatched it because I heard a lot of people saying that they thought Jan won the fight.
It's not
I
even about who won. It's about the way that you fucking fight. Like that is what it comes down to.
uh,
I could give a shit less who won in the decision because that's just a guy picking numbers. Like in my mind, the person who's trying to fucking actively put the pounding on, like they're winning if there's nothing else going on.
and that was my main point of even starting that was basically it's like somebody should have made this a lot clearer. And I feel like we've been saying that a couple of times on this card. It's like, guys, go if you want to be in this sport, go out and win your fights. Don't
Mhm.
just fight in the fight to be there. Go out and win. Finish your fights, or at least make it so clear as to who won that this conversation becomes irrelevant.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, what happens next for Jan Blachowicz, I guess is one question I have before we move on.
I mean, he said he came back. I mean, it might just be for the one. Who knows?
Yeah, I would think that it's probably okay if Jan fades away here. It seems like it's about
But
time.
if you will give me or give Jan the benefit of the doubt, he wouldn't come back unless he knew that this was like a good win or loss on his resume. Like this is a name to come back for. So maybe he's got a little hope that, Carlos Ulberg is better um than I'm leading on. So I will say that because I don't think Jan is the type of dude to just rack up random fucking, people on his record. He's got a pretty prestigious, that's a pretty good thing you got going there.
Yeah,
So
former
Carlos,
champion.
exactly. So if Carlos Ulberg is the one you're willing to take a loss to, he must be someone that's, gonna be somewhere later on. I don't know. Just my thought.
Perhaps. I mean, we'll see. Now, again, it's like you're saying that he's, he's not that guy, but like the rest of the division is just odd.
Also
So
not that guy.
that you know what I'm saying? So it's like we gotta have somebody like really. I mean, really, Alex just needs to come back and reestablish himself. Like if they're gonna give him the rematch, go out there and become Poetan again. But until that happens, it's going to be just an odd amalgamation of whatever's happening at light heavyweight because it's just a little weird right now.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's finish this thing off with the main event: Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady. Sean Brady really having an easy night at the office with Leon Edwards. What'd you think?
I mean, Leon, I think my main takeaway, I don't even want to talk about the performance too much because like it was horrible. It was real bad. And I actually am glad that I stood on business last week and said like Leon is not that fucking guy. I mean, I know I've said it a lot, but like we just got a lot of not that guys tonight. And Leon does this whole press tour talking shit about people and he doesn't stay humble and he loves to just put himself deeper in the hole and then he'll have a performance like this where he gets finished. Listen, I just think it's real funny, and I think it's key that Leon needs a new coach after this. He needs a new team around him. It wasn't the same coach that was giving him the pet talk. He was on the side, but he wasn't the main one talking. It's the entire team. They keep sucking this dude off. Like it is really fucking bad that if you go into the third round, they were telling Leon, "You're doing good. You're doing really good." Was he?
No, of course not.
Yeah. What? Like I just can't believe that his team would not prepare him ever. Like, and when people want to talk about his fucking takedown defense, we can get into it, guys. It's not that fucking good. He gets taken down damn near every fight, and we still go on with this fucking lie, you know. And
Yeah, I mean, this should certainly change that narrative.
I really hope so.
Yeah, yeah. Well, this felt to me. I mean, I'll talk a little at least about Brady's side of the equation because I feel like Leon has been the big narrative here, but this really felt like one long round.
Mhm.
Like this entire fight was just one long round of Brady doing whatever he wanted. The confidence in Sean Brady was evident from the start of this thing. Like out the gate, he was in control, he was dictating the pace and essentially getting his way for the entirety of it, certainly round one. But like I said, it really like round two picks up where round one left off. Round three is the same thing. I mean, it was just very interesting to watch like a consistent performance throughout the entirety of the fight for as long that as it lasted, where there were really very few breaks in the forward motion of Sean Brady. So, I mean, round two picks up immediately where round one takes off. Takedown was immediate. Notches the most control time in a round in UFC history with 4 minutes and 57 seconds of control time. The only way he could have had more is if they'd started the round with him on top of Leon. That is also the round that Leon had 0 significant strikes in a round. And we go on every week talking about how these numbers seem so inflated and it's not accurate, this and that. 0 significant strikes for Leon Edwards in round two.
Yeah, that's very impressive. I also would like to know how impressive it is for Sean Brady to make that history. It is also very impressive that Leon probably would have already held that record against Usman, and he probably just like beat his old record as like the quickest fucking control time or whatever, or the longest control time, whatever it was, quickest takedown into control time. You know, this performance by Sean Brady, Exactly like I figured it. Like Sean Brady is it's just Bilal again. It's just Bilal again. And Leon tried to make it seem like, oh well, he's not Bilal. But literally last year it's like, well, who's Bilal? Like you just keep putting yourself in a position where you don't make yourself look like any inspiration to anybody. Nobody wants to root for you. Like the only time people wanted to root for you is because you got a fucking miraculous finish, and honestly, I think people were overhyping the ability that Leon brought to the table. It is there, it is there, but he would get beat by Islam. We see that now.
Oh yeah, yeah, easily. Yeah, no, and then the other time that people were rooting for him was when he was going up against Colby, and that's just an easy dub for anybody who's doing that, pretty much. So, yeah, just to finish this thing out, as far as the assessment goes, round 3 was the most lunacy I have seen, based on everything that we were seeing leading up to that, because after Leon's corner told him in no uncertain terms to not go to the ground, Leon decides to shoot. That was, I've heard people saying now that they thought that Leon might have been trying to go to the ground to, like, let Sean take control and get out of there early.
Nice.
I
That's what it
yeah,
is. He's got him right where he wants him, guys.
I mean, I mean, I wouldn't go that far, but the fact that there's even a question about that, like the idea that he would be wanting to just get submitted and get the fight over with, like, you never want to think that about a former champion ever. I mean, that's like, they're saying that he gets broken in these fights. I think that that seemed like it was pretty evident, like you can see his facial expressions a lot of the time. He does look like he breaks down when he's not getting his way. And this was certainly that. So, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, well, yeah. I mean, gosh, I just wanted to bring up the actual finish itself.
Yeah, sure.
The choke that Brady gets on Leon Edwards. One is amazing. Two, hilarious because you see the choke get locked in. You see Leon's face. He's like, "Oh fuck, I gotta do something." So he starts yanking his shorts, trying to cheat. Of course, Mr. Leon, Mr. Fence Grab. He definitely knows his way around a rule book. So he starts grabbing the shorts, and you can see for that moment where it's getting there, and then the ref pulls his hand off the shorts, no short grab, and then it's like locked in, and then he starts gurgling, and then it gets really funny because it's fucking over, and then he taps, they let go, and you see Leon just go, "Oh fuck!" Like it was good.
Yeah, yeah, he's certainly, I mean, if he wasn't already broken up until that point, I mean, by then it was a foregone conclusion. But to Brady's credit, man, American wrestling, brother, he was chain wrestling really, really nicely, especially in that third round when he was transitioning his positions perfectly. The transition to the back was really nice and quick and easy, very, very effective. What up, Checkmate? How you doing, brother? Um, it was yeah, I mean, it was just, again, it was a continuation. So, like, it was amazing that this even went to the fourth round, but at that point, that tucked arm, shout out to Paul Felder for realizing that that thing was over as soon as that arm was tucked, because he hit it right on the money. And that was the end of the story. I mean, one-armed guillotine until he finally ended up locking up the hands there at the very end, but probably could have gotten it done just with the one arm. And Brady's cardio is fantastic. Like you said, both of us, really, I think that we were pretty accurate in our assessment of this fight going into it. Cardio on point for Brady, very
On short
Bilal-like.
notice too.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. On short notice as well. So great work through and through for Mr. Brady, knowing that he could get the job done and doing just that.
Yeah, no, I like this performance. I know Guru is real quiet about the American wrestling now.
Yeah, he should be. I mean, why you would ever be talking shit on it in the first place is kind of ridiculous,
Oh, do
considering
you
how much
not know what clip I'm talking about?
I'm vaguely aware that
Okay,
he
okay.
got into some issue with DC and Chael over it, didn't he?
I don't know about all that. I think it was just on Mighty Mouse's like pod or something. I think he said like American wrestling's like outdated kind of deal. Just
Uh,
something like that. Nothing really too crazy, but
Whatever the case may be. Yeah, this was a good proof of that not being true, because this was really quality work. And
Hell yeah.
Brady, I thought that he conducted himself pretty accurately. I mean, he's definitely got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder in the post fight where he was talking about it, but everything he was saying was right on the money. He was saying, Leon was looking past him. All the stuff that you were bringing up about how Leon was, he's talking about Bilal all day long. He's talking all this smack over here, whatever. Wasn't taking this fight too seriously. Well, he very well should have been.
Yeah, it's actually pretty impressive that Leon is unaware with just how obsessed he is with Bilal now. Because like it used to be, I got to ignore Bilal. I gotta ignore him because I don't want the fight. And if I just act like he's not there, maybe it won't come. And then he loses. And then now it's every time Bilal's brought up, he's got something to say or he's got a little smirk to make. He's gonna laugh about it. It's like he can't get over the fact that he lost that belt to it. And now solidifying that he's not gonna get that opportunity to get the chance against Bilal. It's just that's what he gets. I mean, that's really what he gets for the attitude that he brings. He's a smug motherfucker.
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess we're going to have to see what they end up doing with him at this point. If this is the assessment, do they throw him against another striker and then hope that it's a more strike heavy affair and just kind of let him middle in the division? That kind of makes sense. But there are so many guys now. Welterweight is quickly becoming, if it hadn't already been very apparent that this is the case, that welterweight is like really kind of the division that's heating up. You've got, we were just having that discussion in the Discord recently about how there's a lot of contenders. There's so many at the moment, really, that like they're backing up. You've got JDM in the mix, of course, and Shavkat, who's the rightful one to get the shot. He is injured. Once he gets healthy, he's going to get it. Ian Gary is right there on the back burner now, ready to step up at a moment's notice. So welterweight's a really competitive division right now, and it looks like it's probably passed Leon by.
Yeah, I agree. The last thing I want to mention is, and I would be a fool to not bring this up. Sean Brady has probably one of the best tattoos that I've ever seen in the
Clean.
game.
Yeah.
It is. I want to say it's Jesus. I would like to believe it is Jesus Christ, not with the full beard. I think it's just a clean cut. Maybe it's just Joseph. I don't know who the fuck it is, but he's in the standing ghillie position on a fucking tiger. It is fucking nice.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. That's right on the lower
Yeah.
abdomen there. Yeah, that's a cool piece. All of his ink is really fresh and very well done. So shout out to his tattoo artist because he's got a lot of it, and all of it is pretty goddamn good work.
Hell yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've seen a dude with a samurai face on him, and it's not like it doesn't add up because like that's just a common thing, but it's like if Yuri walked out with a samurai face, I think it would make sense. But it's like Volkov and Sean Brady. They're the samurai head guy tattoos. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, you got a good enough artist who's going to do work like that, then I guess you get something cool and you rock it as far as you can. He's got to be doing a lot of touch up work on that. That must be where all the bonuses go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. I mean, I guess that is UFC Fight Night, Edwards versus Brady. Any final thoughts on this card, sir?
It going back through it and rewatching some of the best moments, it could have been a better card. It could have been a better one. I'm sad to say that this London card did not live up to my expectations, but I did have a good time watching the fights. I always do.
Yeah, same here. I would say that this was a pretty mid affair, but it's a good night of fights. Anytime people are throwing hands, I'm a happy guy.
Hell yeah.
All right, let's take a quick look at the upcoming card. This is UFC Fight Night, Moreno versus Urseg, taking place, excuse me, in Mexico City, Mexico, at Elevation. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, is that the case? I didn't know that was a elevated area.
I believe so. I think that's one of the main points of this is that they're going to be fighting very high above sea level. I thought that's what I had seen, and maybe I'm way off the mark, but I thought that was the discussion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not too sure, but I mean that actually does change some opinions. That doesn't change some opinions, but it reinforces some probably.
I was going to say, because I mean, I only say that because like when we talk about places like Colorado or other places that are at elevation, these fighters' cardio is going to be tested in a way that it might not have been at standard elevation. So just keep that in mind when you're making your selections and placing your bets, of course. But starting the thing off is, well, I mean, at the main event, going the opposite direction down. Main event is Brandon Moreno versus Steve Erceg. I've heard very few, but a couple of people saying that they are feeling like Steve Erceg might take this fight. I have no clue how they could possibly have that assessment after seeing Brandon Moreno come out against Amir Albazi looking just as fresh as he did going into his brief retirement.
Yeah, and as I just noticed, Brandon Moreno's 31, guys. Like, what are we acting like this is some like send off mission for him? Like Steve Erceg, I know nobody's really saying, but like you're giving Brandon Moreno a dude who just got knocked out, who just lost in the title fight. Like this is somewhat disrespectful, is it not? Like,
Well, I think that it's kind of one of those deals that like Urseg's rise in this sport in general, in this division specifically, is kind of interesting to me, being that he was hot shotted to a title shot and then essentially lost the title, or lost his chance at the title, but did well enough in the fight to kind of stay higher up. He still raised his stock with that performance, but then ends up getting knocked out thereafter. This to me should seem like a pretty clear-cut example of the nail in the coffin as far as the Steve Erceg experiment goes, right?
yeah, probably. I mean, at least for, I mean, he's 29, but like you face the top of the competition. If you lose this one, it's like you got to wait for a whole new wave of people to try again. Like you've literally lost to the champ, to the dude who's about to face the champ. And then if you lose this one, you've lost to the former champ. So the only thing left for you to do is wait for Figgy to come back down, and then you can go get knocked out by him. So I don't know.
Yeah, either that or put him up against that Uzbekistani guy that's doing pretty nice work recently.
Tamirov.
Yeah, Timirov, yeah, something like that. You know what I mean? There's a bunch at flyweight right now that like flyweight has always been just a hotbed of active competition.
A
You
good
know,
one would have been Kai Asakura for this.
Sure, I could see that, or even Asu Almabayev coming off of the loss would have. I mean, not in this fight, but if he loses this fight, like that would make sense thereafter, something
Yeah.
like that. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of competition in the division, so it's not like he's going to be hurting for fights. But you're exactly correct. I mean, after you've already been taken care of handily by the people who are running the show around here, there's really not much more forward motion until you get a nice streak going, and by then, who knows what the shakeup's going to be looking like.
Yep.
So, both going for Moreno then?
Going for Moreno.
I think that makes sense. All right. Manuel Torres versus Drew Dober. Dober coming off of the whipping that he took at the hands of Jean Silva. Manuel Torres, he's also coming off of a loss, right? Yeah, lost to Bahamundes, who, of course, obviously that's aging pretty well. So, what do you think about this fight?
I'm gonna go ahead and take Dober on this one, probably because Manuel Torres got smoked in his last one and was a big favorite in that. And to be honest, didn't show me like I mean, he got caught with a combination, dropped, caught with the same combination and finished. Like it's come on, dude. Like Drew Dober is gonna be able to blast the same combinations over and over again too. Like I don't know what happened there. Like that was really crazy to see. And Bahamundes is a special talent right now, but I don't know. Drew Dober is one of those dudes that you know what you're gonna get out of him.
That's true. Drew Dober always brings 110% to every fight that he's in. So, um, I'm kind of on the fence about this one because I think that Torres might be able to just kind of grind his way through. If he's able to land a good amount of damage, that's one thing about Drew Dober at this point is that he wears damage very heavily. So there might be some potential for him to split him open, that kind of thing. Get something going that way. But if Drew Dober is on his game, then he should be able to pull off a victory here. But I'm conflicted about this one. I'm gonna have to kind of think on it a little bit. So yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I mean, before the Bahamundes fight, I don't think I had seen Manuel Torres, so I still haven't seen. Oh, okay, beat Chris Duncan. Okay,
And yeah, Nicholas Mata.
that ain't fucking much, but yeah, I mean, he does have a lot of finishes here, so I don't know. It is going to be interesting to see. Will he do it? We are gonna find out. Really, I do like this card now that we're running down it.
Yeah. No, this is a good card. I mean, obviously, anytime you get a lot of the Mexican talent going, you're in for some good fights. So
Yeah,
but that's another reason why I'm kind of like, when it comes to Torres, it's like I think the the thing that you always got to remember with Mexican fighters is that the chin is 9 times out of 10 going to be made of granite. So it's going to be a lot of firefights and a lot of dudes who are comfortable getting into heavy exchanges. Drew Dober, of course, a dude who's no stranger to that, but a guy that when the adversity gets to a certain point, he does eventually crumble. So I think if this goes into like the third round, then I'd be pulling for Torres at that point.
Really? I think the later it goes, Drew Dober is going to get more dangerous. Interesting. Hmm.
Oh no, yeah, I'm going the exact opposite direction on that. I mean, if Drew Dober is able to land heavily early, to the point where maybe he wears down the tank of Manuel Torres, then perhaps. But they are fighting lightweight, so the tank shouldn't be as big of an issue. It's the lightweight is about where it starts to possibly come into play.
Mhm.
But I mean, yeah, I think that that like honestly, this is one of those ones that perhaps I'll amend it a little bit just to say like if it goes into later rounds and both of them are clean enough, like no one's cut dramatically or anything like that, then maybe it could go either way. But I'm kind of leaning towards Manuel Torres as we're talking about it.
Okay. I hear
Yeah.
that.
All right. Kelvin Gastelum versus Joe Pfeiffer. Kelvin Gastelum, another tough dude. Do you think he's going to make weight?
Probably not, and I think he's going to get finished by Joe Pfeiffer too. I mean, Kevin Gastelum he just got finished by Sean Brady, which in hindsight doesn't look terrible, but he's not beating Joe Pfeiffer. He's probably going to get finished. Look at him in that picture, dude. He looks disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, Kelvin's just been a dude who's been a letdown for a lot of reasons. Not always because of his fighting. Obviously, he's in the Hall of Fame now for his fight with Israel Adesanya. So you got to give him credit where it's due. But he is constantly missing weight and constantly underperforming. I want to say, like he's one of those guys that you think could be a lot better than he ends up being. And there are just a lot of times he gets checked on that, and he's one of those dudes that's like two steps forward, one step back. You know what I mean? Like he's constantly inching up, and then he's got to take a back step, takes a loss, kind of stays around for a while. So yeah, Piper, if he's on his game, then I think that yeah, win should be in his cards. Now, of course, I mean, has he gotten a win since the Hermanson fight? Yeah, he did. He beat Marc Andre Barrio. So yeah, I mean, 1-1 in the last two, but I don't know how heavily you weigh that. And
Yeah.
being a finisher over here, Kelvin Gastelum is a tough chin though. So I don't know if you're going to be able to get a finish out of it, but if he's able to get the volume going, I'll go with Joe Pfeiffer on this one.
I am with you.
Moving down the line, I love this fight. Raul Rosas Jr. versus Vince Morales. We were just talking about Vince Morales's great performance, even in defeat in his last fight, were we not?
Yeah, that's why I'm really excited for this one is because he is a dude that'll bring it to you. And, you put him up against a prospect and he'll show him a lot of different things. Raul's out, he's been here for a little bit, but that's all we need him to do right now is just face as many different styles and unique, unique things going on in the cage that he's just got a well-rounded idea of what people are capable of doing. And Vince Morales is one of those dudes where I was even saying it like, the sub might be live for this because Vince Morales is able to pull off some tricky stuff. And it's not stuff that you would normally see, and it's not stuff that you would normally be able to get, but he is at least able to put the thread on it enough that you think, like, this guy, I mean, anything's possible. If he's able to do it like this, and he's confident that he could do it, like, bro, he went for the shit that he was going for on Elijah Smith that he didn't finish. Shout out to Elijah Smith for being a dog and not, tapping or whatever. Raul Roses, I don't see that being the likely outcome either. But he did lose to Christian Rodriguez. So he is susceptible to getting the veteran experience, getting big brothered kind of deal. And if Vince Morales is able to fight like he did in his last fight, holy shit, this should be really, really good.
Yeah, and Rosas did not look amazing in his last fight, if
He
you
looked
recall.
very
Yeah,
slow to start, very, very inactive for what we normally see from him.
exactly. Yeah, absolutely. It was one of those performances that stuck out as like, okay, I mean, this might be what he's starting to look like as he progresses on forward. I mean, the competition's only going to get harder as he continues to win. So, a fight like this, I think makes a lot of sense. I like this matchup, and this could be a really nice win for Morales if he plays his cards right here. If he comes out
Right.
strong, this is, definitely potential for him to overwhelm Rosas. That was what I was saying in the fight with, oh my God, why is his name
Ricky
escaping me?
Turcios.
Ricky Turcios. Thank you very much. Yes, exactly. What I was saying in going into that fight, if Turcios came out strong out of the gate, then I think Rosas has the potential to get a little overwhelmed. I think that the same thing goes for Morales. He just has to be a little bit smart about the power because we do know that Rosas does have some decent power in his hands.
Yeah, this will be a really good one. And if Vince does win this one, man, is that a good step in the door for keeping your name around? Whew.
Huge. This will be huge for him for sure. Obviously, everybody knows Raul Rosas at this point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if I necessarily think he's going to win, but I'm leaning more towards Morales than not, based on all of what we just talked about.
Yeah.
All right, moving on
This
here.
fucking fight here, man.
Yeah, David Martinez versus Simon Oliveira.
Why would this be
Martinez.
on the main card? Like,
Yeah,
this is
he's coming off
ridiculous.
Contender Series.
Yeah, with these long ass shorts in his picture. You see that?
I do. I do see the long shorts.
Yes, he has a unanimous decision on the fucking Contender Series. Like, why would this ever? Are we serious? Like,
Maybe a nice showcase for Simon Oliveira, who's
this,
coming off of 2 losses.
like, do you see this right now? Like, I'm not the
Yeah,
crazy one, right?
no,
Like,
this is kind of wild. Yeah, this is an odd choice for a main card fight here.
Mexico must love these motherfuckers. I mean, only one of them is Mexican. I mean,
I was going to say, I guess just the fact that he is of Mexican heritage, perhaps,
maybe
but
he's some heavily touted dude in the area, but a unanimous decision on the Contender Series. Like, I mean, look how many belts there are right there. Yeah, this is crazy. I don't know.
oh yeah,
Simon Oliveira is 5'4".
I guess so. Yeah, 5'4" versus 5'6". They are fighting bantamweight.
Oh my god, he's the same height as Josh Van, dude.
Fair. I mean, well,
And
maybe this
Lonnie
is.
Kavanaugh. Think about that. Think about how short that is for bantamweight.
Yeah, that's what I'm probably thinking based on all of what we're talking about. Is that this is probably just a nice like hometown type of layup sort of
Feeder
deal. You know?
fight.
Yeah, let David Martinez get one for Mexico in some fights. That may go either way. You want to at least have
Yeah,
one that's hopefully going to go for the hometown.
yeah, I hear
But
you.
who knows? I mean, this dude is coming off the Contender Series, so um, and going to decision. I mean, he was a champion in Combate, so that is certainly something. But different show in the big leagues.
True.
So I really don't know what to say about a prediction on that one. I guess I'll go with David Martinez based on the Mexico connection.
Good deal.
All right. Ronaldo Rodriguez, this lazy boy, versus Kevin Borjas. What are you thinking on this one?
Well, Kevin Borjas lost to Josh Van, and he got beat up, and he might have even got finished. I don't remember exactly. It might have been a decision. But for the time being, I thought Kevin Borjas was going to be one of those dudes that, he can take a beating and he might be able to give one back at a good moment. Not seeing it no more. Nah, he was just a punching bag all along. And this is what the fight should have been with Ronaldo last fight at the Sphere. He was supposed to go out there and starch, what was it, Ode Osborne or something like that.
Yeah,
He was
and
he
then
was he was supposed to jump way into the stratosphere after that. Like, that's a pretty big name. He was supposed to finish him and get on his way to the, in the rankings or whatever. And then Kevin Borjas is like a step down from that. This is like, go get a finish and like make Mexico love you so we can get some fucking money rolling on your name kind of deal.
yeah, he didn't annihilate Ode Osborne for
Well,
sure.
he got dropped. He got dropped in round 1 and it was like a close kind of finish, but then it was like a grindy kind of round 2 and 3.
Yeah, so perhaps lazy boy bucking the Mexican chin stereotype of them having these granite chins that cannot be tested.
True.
But yeah, I mean, he'll probably end up taking this one, I would think. So that I think that this is a good matchup for exactly what you're saying there. It's like get him a win to establish him a little bit more, something a little bit more definitive, even though the line is close. So perhaps goes either way, but I think that I think Lazy Boy will take it.
Oh yeah.
Edgar Chairez versus CJ Vergara. CJ Vergara on the wrong end of a knockout recently.
Yeah, from Tamirov. And then this is another one that I think Edgar Chairez, dude, this dude's an animal. It's one of my favorite fighters right now. And for him being so young, actually, for 29 and looking so old and actually being he was only in the Contender Series like 3 fights ago. This dude he is a savage, and he's a dude that if Tamirov can finish this guy, if Edgar gets the chance, I think he'll do it. But I want to go ahead and say decision because whatever happens, they're not gonna stop the fight probably.
Maybe, who knows? Mexico, their commission, different referees. We'll see what see what ends up happening in the fight to warrant it or not. But yeah, I'd go with Shires on this one for sure. Vergara is a dude who is spotty at best and finishable.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I think that Shires should be able to take that one. This is an interesting matchup here. Jose Daniel Medina versus Ateba Gautier. Both these guys, I believe, coming off the Contender Series. Am I right?
Yeah, Jose Medina was fighting at 205 though, and he was very, very fat, and then he dropped the weight, and he's like jacked now, and he's one of those dudes, kind of like James Lion Top, and he's just gonna take punches and get beat up. But if Gutierrez, if he gasses out, it is very possible that Jose Medina puts a very good pace on him for that final round. I'm just liking it. Even
Yeah,
though I don't think it's gonna happen, this is a good person to root for. Like you can watch this dude and have fun.
it's true because yeah, Medina is the guy who essentially was one tough punching bag. Like he
Yeah,
he he was extremely inactive, taking every shot that was laid on him with a smile.
yeah.
He went out there. It's like he's one of those gluttons for punishment kind of
That
guys.
that's exactly what I said about him. I'm like, he's not the dude that's gonna go out here and show you all the skills that you want in the great fighter, but he is the type of dude that when you hit him, he'll smile about it. Like it's
Yeah, and I remember Gautier off of the Contender Series did not impress me tremendously. I want to say. I think he got a decision on the Contender Series. Am I
KO.
right? Oh, no, he did get it. Oh, right, against Naito. Yeah, because Naito was not super impressive
Oh,
either.
yeah, I like that dude because he was talking about how like, there's not a big representation for these big guys in Japan or like in
Right.
Asia or whatever. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm just I'm trying to use my size to what everybody else is not able to. I like that dude. Damn.
Yeah, Naito. Yeah, exactly. So, but that being said, I mean, I don't remember feeling like super enthused by Gautier in that fight. So I think that again, your assessment is pretty accurate. If he ends up gassing out, then Medina might be able to swing it in his direction, but he needs to use his hands, bro. Please throw something, Mr.
Yeah.
Medina.
Yep.
All right. The aforementioned Christian Rodriguez going up against Melzikael Costa.
Um, it's hard for me to say this one because I do like Costa. Um, but God, Christian Rodriguez is the prospect killer. This dude's not really a prospect anymore, though. He's been around for enough.
22-7.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, well, like UFC prospect,
Right,
whatever
I
you
know
want
what
to
you're
say.
saying.
Yeah,
I'm just yeah.
yeah. But he's been here long enough, so I think it's fair enough to say Christian Rodriguez might not be able to pull the same cards that he does against these prospects, like he did with Bashy. He was able to just spook him out his shoes. Costa might be able to pull something off, and Christian Rodriguez is one of those dudes that you just can't you can't trust him. Like you literally cannot trust him because he'll go out here and lose just so he can fight a fucking prospect next fight. Like he'll go get tapped by Julian Erosa, tapped like chicken, like double tap that shit, like ridiculous, and then come out here and smoke the next prospect. So like I think this one is a valued loss uh for Rodriguez if you actually think he's wanting to be somebody in the sport. It's not you don't take this for granted if you think he's just I mean fuck I'll just keep losing. I'll lose again and then I'll go beat another dude who's 12-0. Like I know how to beat those guys kind of deal. And maybe he will, maybe he won't. But I'm just saying quotas you can make them.
All right. I mean, I think that there's logic there. I'm going to go with Rodriguez on this one, though. I think that Costa was okay in that fight. I know that we kind of heaped a lot of praise on him on this show based on that last performance. But I wasn't 100% swayed, I want to say. And Rodriguez he might be a little bit unpredictable as far as like the go out and get it type of performances, but in this fight specifically, I'll side with him.
Hell yeah.
Lupi Godinez versus Julia Pilastri. I've been seeing a couple people saying that they are going for Pilastri. I thought that was a little bit
Um
interesting, but what?
the going for Pilastri's dumb.
Yeah,
Loopy's good. Loopy's really good.
She was not great in her last fight though, and I
It
can
was
understand.
against the dude. She's about to go for the belt. Like Yarn Roba is good.
Yeah, that is true. I think that my issue was that I want to say that there were some navigational issues with that fight for Godinez. But again, she up against Fierna. That's a tall order for someone to navigate correctly. So yeah, in a fight like this, I would think that Loopy should take this one pretty easily.
I'm hoping for some good old Russell fucking.
I think you'll get it.
Okay.
Rafa Garcia's versus Vince Pichel. Oh, this is a fun fight for the old guys. I mean, only Rafa Garcia is not that old, but Vince Pichel certainly is.
Yeah, -500. I mean, I'm trying to think who's this dude. He's gotten knocked out by somebody more recently. Uh,
Yeah, Garcia. Yeah, Grant Dawson.
oh,
Grant Dawson.
the first finish of his career.
Yeah, I mean, well, he was ragdolling him throughout that entire
Yeah.
fight, though.
And Vince Pichel lost to Ishmael Bonfim, the one that got head kicked. I'm pretty sure. Um, this one's interesting. Could care less who wins. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, I like Vince Pichel. I like that he is just one of the he's like a Jim Miller type, you know. He's just a dude who keeps going out there, keeps grinding, stays with the strong man mustache, which I appreciate entirely. So I'd like to see him win this fight. Go out there and muscle him around. You know, we
Oh
know
yeah.
that he can that will work on Garcia. So, you know, if you're worried about him striking with you at all, just go out there and throw your weight around. I think
Yeah.
Vince Pichel can get this win.
Yeah, just take the safe bet. Rafa Garcia by finish. That one's easy.
It's probably going to be Garcia, but I want to believe. I want to believe in Vince Pichel on this one. And we saw some crazy upsets on this last card, so don't think that these lines are what make or break. You know, Chase
Yeah,
has a habit of saying Vegas knows what they're talking about. I think that we've seen plenty of times when they have been mistaken.
fair.
All right, Jamal Emmers versus Gabriel Miranda.
These two dudes here. One got knocked out by Nate the Train. The other one got knocked out by Morgan Cherie. And they're both just not that good. You know, on paper
Yeah.
they could be. Miranda has like a bunch of subs, you know, but like I don't even think he has 16 subs, never been subbed. I don't think he shot a single takedown against Shuri. So
Yeah, that's a little bit of an issue now, isn't it? Jamal Emmer is a dude who he's just there. You know what I mean? Like he's one of those names that you see pop up, and it's like, okay, yeah, Jamal Emmers is fighting. So I'm not super enthused about this one. Gut saying Miranda. See, that's about it.
yeah, I don't even know who to take on this one.
I think he'll probably have an easier time with Emmers than he had in his previous fight.
True. Fair.
So. And I like this as the opening fight here. This is Markel Medeiros. He was supposed to be fighting on a card a couple of weeks ago and got pulled from that one. I forgot what the reasoning was there, but that fight got pulled. Markel Medeiros versus Austin Hubbard. Medeiros is a dude that I had gone back to look through the history of based on him being on that other card and saw that he got a win over Landon Quinones. And the reason that I bring that up is because Landon Quinones looked really good in that fight. I had made a note to say that Landon looked like he was improving his game, but Medeiros still got the win. So going up against Austin Hubbard, who is a longtime dude, even though he's only 33 years old, he was another one that came off of the redemption season of the contender or
Tough.
of Tough. Yes, thank you. You know, I think that this could be a nice performance for Medeiros here.
I think what I will say about this, other than Medeiros probably winning, is I'm pretty sure Austin Hubbard is the culprit of pulling out a fight a couple weeks ago and then seemingly rebook a fucking short notice bout with this motherfucker. So
Oh,
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that he was supposed to fight somebody else. It might have been that Bradford dude.
Okay.
The one that got that finish against that super fucking bad guy. I can't think of his name at the time. Something, but I'm pretty sure that's what this was supposed to be. And then because somebody made a note about it, like interesting that you pulled out of our fight, but now you're fighting a couple weeks later, kind of thing.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I mean, Hubbard is an experienced guy, you know, a dude he's a pretty decently fast guy as well. So I maybe his movement could be somewhat of an issue for Medeiros, but I remember putting a note in my mind. Oh yeah, Medeiros, that's a guy to put some backing on. So I'm gonna stick with that
And
gut
it's a close
instinct.
line. I mean, not close, but minus 195. I mean, that's probably as good as it's gonna get.
It's true. Yeah, that'll probably tighten up a little bit as we get closer. So I'm gonna stick with that assessment and hope that this is a nice showcase for Medeiros. Show me
Hell
something.
yeah. Yeah, this will be a good card. I like this one.
I think so. I mean, this is now, I think we're now at week 8 going into this will be week 9 of this 11-week stretch that we've been on. So we've been really cranking out these fights and watching a whole hell of a lot of fighting. And we will continue to do that through this stretch. We will do that on our individual watch alongs, myself here on the Yama channel with the Vitz King. That's youtube.com/@Yama Show. And Chase, I know that you can tell them where they can find you.
They will find me doing the watch alongs on my own channel on youtube.com/@CP Smalls. And of course, on Twitter, I'll be having a good time at Creative Partin, Partin.
Nailed it. I am on Twitter and on Instagram at Yama Show as well. We are still in the process of figuring out the Facebook page. I have now been on with Meta support for 3 days, trying to figure out if I can get Yama Show back on Facebook. If it's not going to be that, I'll let you know what the new handle is. But either way, search Yelling About Mixed Martial Arts on Facebook. It's there if you'd like to like it as well. But we will be back. There'll be some new content coming out this week on the Yama channel for sure. And we will see you for the watch alongs and of course be back here next Monday for this very show. So have a good rest of your week, everybody. Take good care. And as always, fight on.
Oh, yeah.